After years of dreaming, planning and working hard, we finally got the end result that everyone in Indian motorsports has been dreaming for almost decades now. The Indian Racing League is here and it is powered by Mega Engineering and Infrastructures Limited and brought to you by Mobile One. This is it. Round 2 right here at the Madras International Circuit, and at last we saw a race yesterday. That was Sprint 1. Today, folks, is the day we get sprint number 2 and the feature race in. This is the big one. We've got 2 races for you today. And all the racing action is going to be spectacular. But to talk about it firstly, I've got to introduce my guest. I've got 2-time national racing champion Gaurav Dalal. And Gaurav, about yesterday, right? We firstly saw the first ever Indian Racing League race. And the action was just manic all the way around.
Absolutely, absolutely. Good day, all the viewers and listeners over here, but thank you so much for that intro, and all charged up now for day 2 of the Indian Racing League. Where we're headed, we will soon find out.
Haha, exactly. And at the Madras International Circuit right here, this is a circuit that's essentially been the home of Indian motorsport. And what a place to begin other than home, right? I mean, this is the place where you all want to be. And all the drivers showed it when they put up a spectacular show in race 1 yesterday, which we should actually take a look at. And eventually, Gaurav, it was Blackbirds Hyderabad's Neil Jani who dominated from start to finish, had lots of pressure. But this is what he did in the green car.
Yes, yes. Like I told you and what we were discussing, his experience brings in so much of talent over here. He just led from start to finish. We had a safety car through the race yesterday. Post the safety car, he got a brilliant start out, and he was just divine. As in, there was no catching him at all.
Absolutely, but behind him you could see Alistair Young for Godspeed Kochi in that blue car right there. He was only in India since 3 o'clock yesterday morning, and he still did so well to finish in P2. But there were so many other finishes as well, Gaurav. We saw Mitch Gilbert for Speed Demons Delhi from 8th to 3rd.
So it's actually normally very easy to lead a race with no trouble. You don't even have to look at the car in front of you. There's nobody really tailing you. There's no dicing involved. So what the tough part is when you come from the back of the grid, which Mitch really did a brilliant job coming in from the 8th position to finishing up 3rd onto the podium. So that's very commendable for sure. And not to forget our Ruhan Alva, our local boy from Bangalore, started last. And where did he finish, Saumil?
Yeah, he was P4, and that for Speed Demons, for Godspeed Kochi was incredible. But as you can see, the flag taken by Neil Jani for Blackbirds Hyderabad, and they were on fire today. In fact, for the sprint race that's also going to happen today, they're even on pole position for that too. So it's a good day for them. But Neil Jani, he dominated. Let's take a quick look at the results in a short second once we come to that. But as we mentioned, P1 for Blackbird Hyderabad, P2 for Godspeed Kochi, Speed Demons Delhi was 3rd, Godspeed Kochi 4th. But what I find incredible, Gaurav, is that we've got 4 different teams in the top 5. That to me is great diversity, and also multiple Indian youngsters up there as well with all the international stars.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's important over here, that the mix-up is there, and it's not just led by one team. And we definitely like to see the other teams do well today. I am really looking forward to seeing what Goa Aces and Chennai will do. Definitely we have a good turnout here in Chennai supporters who've come to see what Chennai Turbo Fighters is all about. As in, we've always only heard of Chennai Super Kings.
That's true. And
now we have another Chennai over here in the league of racing over here to support. And Chennaites, that way they get a little emotional about their team. So I'm really looking forward to having Chennai do well.
And all the Chennai fans have also turned out in big number right here. But all the Hyderabad fans also back at home will be wondering, well, we want to see our team do well. And what is so special about their team? To find that out, we've got Sukhmani telling you more about them.
Hi everyone, my name is Sukhmani Sudana and welcome back to the second day of the second round of the Indian Racing League 2020-22. Well, just to give you a quick recap of what we saw yesterday, well, it was a day to remember for Hyderabad Blackbirds. Well, in the first qualifying race, we saw Akil Rabindra take to the pole position. On the other hand, in the second qualifying race, the race belonged to the experienced Neil Jani. And in the final sprint race 1 that we saw yesterday, once again, we saw Neil finish at the top, therefore giving an advantage to Hyderabad Blackbirds.
And so we're speaking about Neil Jani, right? For all of you folks who don't know, Neil Jani is a Le Mans winner, that 24-hour race that you've seen in the Ford vs Ferrari movie. And let's talk more about him, Gaurav, because Neil, as we saw yesterday, dominated. But was it expected for you, considering the status that he brings in as a legend of the sport?
Okay, so what we need to really sink in over here is Neil Jani is an F1 driver.
Yeah.
He's a Le Mans winner. He's an A1 GP champion. So we've got probably one of the best in the world, talent-wise, to come here and showcase what he's all about, so that our youngsters can actually grab something from that. So having Neil with us, and like you'd mentioned, the 24-hour Le Mans, that's not something that, it's not a walk in the park. Yeah. You're driving for 24 hours with very timed sleep timing, you're eating, as in it's drooling for sure. And we did mention yesterday that he was the first one in the Indian F1 at Buddha International Circuit. He was the spare driver for Red Bull. So alongside Sebastian Vettel is a Neil Jani, and he's here racing in Chennai today.
Yep, fantastic. He's been dominating so far. It's great to see all the Indian youngsters catch up with him as well. But we shall talk about them in a second. But first, here's Xerxes with a quick message.
So Sukhmani told us about how exciting day one, which it was. We had 2 qualifiers and a race. But day 2 is going to be even bigger and better, because not 1, but 2 races in. And first one is a 20-minute race, while the second one is a 35-minute race, which will have a driver swap. What? How does a driver swap? Well, to tell you more about that, let's go back to Sawmill.
Oh yeah, the feature race, that's going to come up later today. And Gaurav, it's got this one amazing element called the driver swap.
Yes.
That I'm very keen to see.
Yes, that's really exciting. It's not really something that happens too often. It happens in an endurance race, but here at a feature race where you're going all guns out, so that entire transition from one driver to driver 2, which has to happen between 20 and 22 minutes of the entire 35 minutes, is going to be very crucial in how quickly they can do it. So it depends on when they come in, who is tailing them. It's a little bit of a strategy that is involved for sure.
And that is going to be fun to watch, because the drivers have so much to play on their plate already, and then there's this to add on as well. But that will come in a minute. First, we'll be back with sprint race number 2 after a short break, so be right here.
Hi, I'm Xerxes and I welcome you back from the break to round 2 of Indian Racing League 2022. We are here at the starting grid of Sprint Race 2, where driver A's are riding on the qualifiers set by their teammates. So with us right now, we have Akil and Neil, and we're going to speak to them because Hyderabad's clearly been killing it. Yesterday, you, Neil, set a pole time for him, and then you came first on the pole set by him. You both are setting poles for each other. So, firstly, what's your plan for this race?
Finish where I start. As simple as that. Yeah, just keep a clean race, stay in the lead, finish the 20 minutes in one piece, stay on the black stuff, and cross the line in first.
What team are you afraid of is going to be really aggressive from the back?
I think everyone, they're all ambitious, they all want to win. So each one is coming with aggression and ambition, so you got to look out for all.
And Neil, you were on the grid yesterday, you won the race, you started on pole and you ended on pole. Any tips for him that the public should probably know about?
You know, he's in the best position, keep it calm, we have a good car. He did the job yesterday. All he needs to do is trust his own abilities, and then all will be good.
Very interesting. And Akhil, any last words before you get into the car and come back to pole, hopefully?
No, nothing much. Just head down now, and is what really matters now. So yeah.
Just basically have fun along the way, right? Well, that's a lot of action that's going to be happening on this track. I am Xerxes, and I'm going to send you back to Sawmill in the studio for you to know more about the race coming up.
Now then, the grid. Firstly, we've got Akil Rabindra for Blackbirds Hyderabad starting on pole position. Then Bianca Bustamante for Bangalore in second. Celia Martin would have been third, but she has to start from the pit lane. More on that in a second. Fabian Wolven is fourth. Nikhil Bora for Kochi is fifth. Shahan Ali Moshin sixth for Delhi. Yash Aradhya for Bangalore Speedsters would have been seventh, but he has to start at the back of the grid for Bangalore. Then we've got Rahul Hyman for Kochi. John Lancaster for Team Chennai ninth. Amir Sai 10th for Kochi again. For Go Aces, Parth Ghorpade 11th for Chennai Turbo Riders, and Anindit Reddy unfortunately last for Blackbirds Hyderabad. But what I'm so surprised about are the two penalties. Firstly, for Celia Martin, who's going to be starting from the pit lane, and Yash Aradhya for Bangalore, who's going to be at the back of the grid. But why, Gaurav? What's happened?
So, Somil, as in, rules make the game. So the rules over here is the pit lane opens at a certain time, it closes at a certain time. You have to exit the pit lane to get onto the grid. So over here, Celia obviously had an issue with the car, or what they were sorting out, I don't know. But obviously the pit lane turned red, so she couldn't exit the pit lane, which makes her start from the pit lane now. It's going to be interesting, as in it's nothing too bad. It is a rolling start, and yes, instead of being at P3. So I want to mention yesterday when I was chatting up with Celia, she is a Nürburgring specialist. Nürburgring is like the mecca of motorsport, as in like it is hardcore, it's grueling. So it's going to be interesting to see her. I would have definitely liked her to be at P3 and not at the back of the grid now. So yes, pit lane start it is for Celia Martin.
And also for poor old Yash Aradhya, who's going to be starting from the back of the grid for Bangalore Speedsters. He was a last-minute replacement for the team, essentially, but now tough for him. But Bianca Bustamante, Gaurav, we have to talk about her. She's only 17. She's a major influencer. She has her own racing community. She's raced in the W Series, the top championship for women in motorsport. Now she's second, competing with the very best. What about her?
No, see, the moment you say she is 17, I'm getting goosebumps. We have raw talent here and good talent. And Bianca is from where? She's from Indonesia?
Philippines.
Philippines. Yes. So she's when you look at her, like you said, she's an influencer, but she's behind the wheels of a 220 bhp monster and is actually going to start from P2.
Yeah. And she's getting to grips with the car and also the country very, very well. But let's talk about India for a second. The drivers have been here for a couple of weeks and they've been settling into the country. But what's it been like for them? We shall find out right now.
Yeah, it's my first time in India, first time racing here. I'm very excited. This call came very last minute, but yeah, I love challenges. I love new cars, new tracks, so I'm very excited for the upcoming weeks.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Indian food, but so far I had it just in Europe, and of course it's completely different. So yeah, want to know the cities we will be visiting and to get to know more in general the Indian culture.
Actually, India is great. All the people are super friendly, and I grew up in Asia, so this is very similar for me in a way. It's like coming home.
The culture is kind of nice. People are really nice here, and it's first time I'm coming to Asia, and especially in India. So it's very nice to see other thing or other culture. I mean, it's important.
What I want to try here in India is definitely as many different foods as possible. I'm looking forward to trying as much as I can. I mean, the highlights: paneer, pani puri. I mean, obviously all of the different vegetable curries.
Yeah, thanks to my Indian roots or my Indian dad, obviously I was several times already in India. I always loved coming here, and I especially love the food. Coming back here and enjoying a different kind of a world than what we are used to, it's always a mind-opening experience.
Gotta love it. Got to love them trying out the biryani as well. They were in tears with all the spices. But now, of course, folks, we shall talk to more drivers. And here's Xerxes with one of them.
Right on the grid here with me is Nikhil Bora from Godspeed Kochi, who has a brand new teammate who literally flew in yesterday, Alistair Young, and he set you a qualifier time of P5 while you gave him a P2, but he finished on P2. What's the strategy for you to go to the very front of the grid?
Yeah, well, you know, Alistair came in yesterday, 5 laps of practice and went into quali, so he put it in a good position, P5. And now we're P4 because P3 had a problem in the pit lane.
Oh.
So, yeah, the goal is just, I think, outside in turn 1. We don't really have another choice. Try to take the clean line and, yeah, see how it goes. I know we have good pace compared to the guys in front. Maybe we have to worry a little bit more about the guys behind, but I'd like to just get my head down and drive away, to be honest.
Okay. Best of luck, Nikhil. See you kill it on the grid. Get ready. Back to the studio, Saumil.
I love Nikhil Bora. He's just such an exciting driver all the way through. But Gaurav, is he going to be your pick for the second sprint race?
Oh, well, this time I'm going to go with Fabian.
Aha.
The lady starting now at P3 from Liechtenstein,
Yeah.
if I've got that pronunciation right. So I think she's partnering Ruhan.
Correct.
And with what Ruhan did with the car yesterday, I think Fabian with a lot more experience, I think is going to do better. So I think she's going to, my money's on her, Saumil.
It's going to be interesting. So many interesting drivers to watch for in the second sprint race of the Indian Racing League. And that will come up after a very, very short break, folks. So don't go anywhere. Be right here on Star 2. We'll be back with race number 2. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Indian Racing League 2022 Round 2 right here. We've got the grid ready for the second race, the second sprint race. Akil Rabindra is on pole position for Blackbirds Hyderabad, followed by Bianca Bustamante for Bangalore Speedsters. Celia Martin would be third, but she's not, unfortunately. Fabian Woolven starts in fourth. Nikhil Bora is in fifth for Godspeed Kochi. And then, of course, we've got the others. Yasharadhya starting in the back of the grid, unfortunately. But Raul Hyman for Goa Aces is P8. John Lancaster for the home heroes, Chennai Turbo Riders in ninth, followed by Amir Syed in P10 for the Goa Aces. Parth Korpore starts 11th for the Chennai Turbo Riders, and Arindit Reddy for Team Hyderabad starting in P12. Unfortunate issues for them with the car. But folks, now it's time that I introduce my co-commentator. It's basically a motorsport commentary royalty that I've got with me. I've got Jake Sanson. Jake, welcome along over here to the Indian Racing League. We saw the first sprint race yesterday. What do you expect from this one right here today?
Well, the only thing that I can guarantee for you today is unpredictability. Yesterday, we saw Neil Jani get himself into the lead and almost disappear without a trace. This time around, it's going to be much closer. The even spread of competition in race 2 is going to be even tighter than it was for race 1. So it's definitely going to be tricky to know who is going to have the best of it. There is Celia Martin. She's going to be starting the race from the pit lane, which has already been mentioned by Sumil and Gaurav in the studio earlier. So obviously, we're going to get ourselves into a situation where Celia Martin is going to be recovering. And Yash Radja, of course, should be starting towards the sharp end of the field, but obviously he's got progress to make as well. It'll be an interesting situation for several of the drivers coming through. Obviously, all eyes are going to be on the likes of Fabian Woolven and Bianca Bustamante right by the sharp end of the field. But can the number 9, Akil Rabindra, pick up where Neil Jani left off yesterday? One of the questions I felt we wanted to answer, there was some conversation yesterday. Why do both drivers get onto the podium at the end of races in the sprints? Well, there's a very simple answer to that still, of course, and that is the drivers from this race have not qualified their cars in these positions. It was the other Group B drivers that put these cars into the position that they're in for the grid. So both drivers actually have a play in each sprint race because one set of drivers does the qualifying, the other does the race.
You're absolutely right, Jake, and it's all a game of teamwork at the end of the day. You just need so much of trust from your teammate as well so that they can qualify the car in the right position. And luckily for the Blackbirds Hyderabad, both their drivers have qualified the number 9 car on pole position. So it's working beautifully for them. But otherwise as well, right, there are so many teams where one driver has qualified extremely well, the other hasn't quite. So that needs to be one element that also has to be figured out. But for this sprint race, it's all pretty clear, Jake. It's all about pushing as hard as they possibly can. And I can't wait to watch this lady right here, Bianca Bustamante in second place for the Bangalore Speedsters. Can you believe it? She's only 17 and yet she's able to just stay up to grid with all the other pro drivers around here.
Yeah, I've got a cheeky bet on Bianca Bustamante, to be honest. I think she has an opportunity to go for the win, and it'll be a very exciting opportunity for her from that outside of the front row of the grid. I think she's got a really good chance to make it happen. So she's be there on the starting grid, hoping for a great launch. We get underway with the formation lap, the second sprint race in the Indian Racing League. Jake Stenson and Sumil Arora here in the commentary box with Sukhmani Sadar and Ziggy himself, Xerxes Vadia in pit lane. It's going to be a fascinating battle for the second sprint race, the Indian Racing League 2022. Everybody getting themselves up ready is yet again another 20-minute race plus the additional formation lap. So we are definitely going to have a fascinating situation and a tough mission ahead of us as everyone is gearing up for the start. And there's a lot of talent. Forget just how tricky it's going to be from the get-go. We'll see a lot of exceptional ability showcased here in this second sprint race. The crowd are in position, they're ready for an exceptional show. Hopefully you guys are as well, whether you are watching on Star Sports 2 or whether you are the YouTube feed, whichever one you have been able to tune into. It's going to be a fascinating situation in the sprint race, and we'll get to see who has got the job done in terms of race. Akil Rabindra and Bianca Bustamante. Fabian Woolven alone on second row of the grid. Nikhil Bora and Johan Alvos in Yasharadhya and Raul Hyman. John Lancaster, Amir Syed, Parth Korpore and Arindit Reddy. With Celia Martin, of course, due to start this race from the back of the grid.
It'll be quite a tricky one for Celia to do, to come back when you've got a grid as star-studded, but she is no pushover. She's won so many races, including an SP8 class win at the Nürburgring 24 hours. Like Le Mans, Nürburgring is also one of those 24-hour races where you've got to team up with your teammates and race at one of the toughest circuits in the world. Celia has done that and she has won that. So watching her compete against this lot is also going to be very, very interesting. But the fun part is, Jake, this is an extremely technical circuit, and the drivers earlier on today were really excited in the warm-up because they got to get in their cars after yesterday. And all the corners, now that it's slightly warmer, they're able to push hard a little bit more. The cars seem faster. Everyone is just loving this place.
It's a fantastic atmosphere, it's an amazing drop, and we're going to see some sensational racing now in second of our sprint races. Of course, we'll have a 35-minute feature race late with a mandatory drive change, with only a 10-minute stop window as well, so that's going to be fascinating to observe. But from the front of the grid, Akil Rabindra now has the chance to put on a bit of a show here. Bianca Bustamante, a lot of pressure on the 17-year-old Manila Ace's shoulders. She runs from the starting grid. She has more than enough ability. I saw her in her IA Asia days, and she has every ounce of strength and stamina to be able to get hell for leather against boys on this grid. And of course, there are plenty of other talents that she'll be mixed with wheel to wheel. Fabian Volvend, the former Regional Americas champion, Raul Hyman, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity from Nikhil Bourne as well. Watch out for John Lancaster as well, the former European Le Mans Series champ, is in this grid for the Chennai Turbo Riders. He'll be hoping to give the hometown heroes a bit of a storm. So as they come off final turn, this is where we'll get to see will occur. It's Fabian Volvend and Nick Bora go side by side. We wait for the lights to go out, and they do! We are up to the first corner. Great start initially from Akil Rabindra. A perfect start as well from the number 2 of Nikhil Bora, trying to squeeze his way through on the inside. Everybody squeaks through, but Nikhil Bora got a little bit of a slow one in the end. It is Fabian Volvend that has come through into second position in front of Bianca Bustamante. Bianca Bustamante already under pressure from John Lancaster. Lancaster's getting through into third position. What a start for the Chennai Turbo Riders. John Lancaster moves his way forward up into third position, straight out of the blocks.
Now that is a great performance from the home hero John Lancaster right here for the Chennai Turbo Riders in the first couple of corners. But also notice Fabian Volvend in that number 1 car. She has pushed extremely well to get that Godspeed coaching machine into number 2. And now it's about that battle. Fabian Volvend for Kochi versus Akil Rabindra in the Blackbird's Hyderabad car at the very top. How quickly can they get to each other? And what about John Lancaster? I mean, he was all the way at the back, right? He has made an incredible start from P9 up to P3 now. That, Jake, is a start and a half for the home hero.
Well, he's not the European Le Mans Series champion for nothing. Let's look at the start again and watch John Lancaster in the middle of the field. Just watch him as he waits his moment, then gets level up alongside with Bianca Bustamante, I think it is, that he's the bid on the inside. Now watch, it squeaks through there on the inside line. He actually goes wheel to wheel with Shad Ali Mohsin initially. Manages to spread himself through as he gets the move on the inside of Bianca Bustamante on the exit of turn 1. So Akil Rabindra, the former University of Edinburgh student who has been part of the Aston Martin and McLaren GT academies in the past, has now come through to the lead in front of Fabian Volvend and John Lancaster. What a start! Absolutely terrific run. Now, interestingly, there is a note on the screen that says incident at turn 1 be investigated after the race. I'm very sure that is involving the other Chennai Turbo Riders driver, and that is Baku Pada, who has had a bit of an issue at turn 1 on the start. So we're not entirely sure what that comes down to. Certainly, we're waiting to see. Celia Martin has now got going, fortunately, having had to start the race from the pit. And there's Bianca Bustamante dueling it out there with Nikhil Bora. And then Jahan Ali Mohsin dueling away. We can see a little bit further back now. That is Bianca Bustamante dueling away, trying to keep Nick Bora off her tail. Raul Hyman is obviously going to be here as well, the Formula Regional Americas champion for 2022. But out in front, Akil Rabindra has clearly been to Neil Jani School of Driving, because he's doing exactly the same job that Neil did yesterday.
Wait, are we watching a different race? Because this seems like a carbon copy of what Neil Jani did yesterday in the Blackbird's Hyderabad car, and also in the same number 9 machine. Akil is taking everyone to school right now, and what he's done is that he's closed up, in fact not closed up, he's increased the gap to Fabian Volvend in the Kochi car up to 1.6 seconds. That in almost 3.5 minutes is absolutely fantastic. Akil is just putting in some amazing laps. In fact, the last time he was almost a second and a half faster in that one lap to Fabian Wohlwend. So I wonder what's happened to Fabian over there. She's slowly losing pace, and John Lancaster in that Chennai Turbo Riders machine, the yellow one, is closing up to Kochi right now. So that battle for P2 is going to start up, but I wonder what's happened that's made Fabian and the Kochi car lose so much of time. It's just one lap.
And what happened to Parker as well? We didn't really see what happened to the second of the Chennai Turbo Riders. But hopefully get a little bit of an understanding as the time goes on. Akil Rabindra leading the way then for the Hyderabad Blackbirds. Then Wohlwend for Godspeed Kochi in second place. Lancaster for the Chennai Turbo Riders. Third position, Bianca Bustamante there in fourth for the Bangalore Speedsters. And then in fifth place, the Goa Aces. It is Raul Hyman. Once again, 5 different teams in the top 5 places. That is how competitive the Indian Racing League is. Fresh out of the blocks. You would expect maybe 1 or 2 teams disappear out into the distance. Not in the Indian Racing League. It is ultra competitive. The teams have been working so hard, and the drivers really are rising to the occasion. As the Goa Aces youngster Raul Hyman trying his best to get one over on the Philippines star Bianca Bustamante. There she is in 4th position. 6th place behind the two, by the way, is Nikhil Bora in the second of the Speed Kochi car. And then we have leading Speed Demons Delhi driver, that is Shahan Ali Mohsin, who is in 7th position at the moment in front of Yasharadya, going well for the Bangalore Speedsters in 8th place. Then Anindit Reddy in the second of the Hyderabad Blackbirds cars. 10th is probably Celia Martin, who has done a good job for Speed Demons. Starting from the pit lane, has already worked her way up to 10th place. Partner number 8, Goa Aces car of Amir Saeed. And unfortunately, Parth Gopada, having initially spun off at turn 1, has now come into pits to retire. So I don't think we're going to see any more from Parth Gopada, unfortunately. But with 20 minutes plus 1 lap, time is already ticked, and we're already at 1/4 distance. And Akil Rabindra pulls away from Fabian Wohlwend. And just as Gara predicted, Samil, Fabian Wohlwend is not only holding a candle to John Lancaster, she's actually trying to extend the gap. She's not a Ferrari Challenge winner for nothing.
That is so true. She is one of the best of the very best. And, of course, Fabian has a great deal of experience racing GT cars here and there. In fact, she teamed up with Celia Martin to win the get P3, the SP8 category of the Nürburgring 24, the endurance race I mentioned earlier. So she knows what she's doing in a long race. In a sprint race also, she's got a ton of experience, as you mentioned, with the Ferrari Challenge. And so I am not surprised at all that she's able to do so well. But this is one battle that I never imagined I'd be able to see. Fabian Wohlwend for Kochi versus John Lancaster versus John Lancaster in the Chennai car. Because otherwise, apart from this series, I wouldn't think that they would be racing in the same championship at the same time in this Wolf GB08 Thunder in any way whatsoever. So the Indian Racing League really is providing some crazy opportunities to all the drivers. But now for Fabian, this is going to be fun. At one point, she's got to go and defend from John Lancaster in the Chennai car behind. But at the same time, there's also that challenge of trying to catch up to Akil Rabindra at the very top. So how do you balance that out? What do you focus on more, attacking or defending? Right now, it seems like she's on the attack.
So the gap has hauled out to just over 3 seconds after the first 2 laps. Akil Rabindra still hanging on here in front of Fabian Wohlwend. She is the Liechtenstein driver in second position ahead of John Lancaster for the Chennai Turbo Riders. This is getting a little bit spicy. Driving in on the inside. Lovely move there from Shahan Ali Mohsin, who puts the run on Nikhil Bora and moves up into position. And Bianca Bustamante trying to fend off from Raul Hyman. They go wheel to wheel, and off goes Bustamante. And off in the avoidance goes Shahan Ali Mohsin. And also a big moment for Nikhil Bora trying to take away the action. That got very scary indeed, as Raul Hyman decided enough was enough. Through on Bianca Bustamante. We need to see this again. Now look, Raul Hyman, oh, that was ruthless from Raul Hyman in the Goa Aces car. Bustamante rejoined right in the path of Shahan Ali Mohsin and Nikhil Bora. Now, interestingly, that's a two-pronged incident, because you can argue that Raul Hyman, very ruthless there on Bustamante. Bustamante, however, so desperate to get back into the circuit, she rejoined right into the path of the oncoming duo.
Yeah, a really tricky one that. For Raul, firstly, that's an odd place to make a move, but then again, he made it stick somewhat. That was very, very aggressive, and eventually you're right, because when Bianca came back in, there was no space at all for Shahan and Nikhil Bora to go to, so they eventually had to do some bit of lawn mowing, and I wonder what the stewards will have to think about this, because it's super aggressive. Normally, frankly, I've never seen anyone make a move over there, but Raul has made it stick. But I want to wait and see what the stewards have to say about that. But it's amazing that we're getting to see the stakes so high in the Indian Racing League that drivers are prepared to go to that limit to make sure that they get the position in. And for Raul right now, he's got P5 provisionally. Let's wait and see. But in the meantime, John Lancaster's gotten close, but...
That's Yasharaja. Yasharaja
Yes.
stopped out on the circuit, I'm afraid. So Yasharaja in the Bangalore Speedsters car. Now that is almost certainly going to be a safety car, because that car is staying out on the circuit, Sunil, and that is going to be very dangerous for the marshals to attend under racing conditions.
That is, yeah, what a pity for Yasharaja, the super sub who just came in a couple of days ago to try and test this car. I wonder what's gone wrong. It's a real shame that this reliability issue has popped around, but for them, it'll be somewhat disappointing, right? And now the car's in the middle, the race has to be halted, we have to get a safety car in, as you rightly mentioned. And that changes the complexion of the race completely, Jake, because all of a sudden, the big gap that Akil Rabindra had, the 4-second margin that he built up, has suddenly vanished, which is again a carbon copy of what we saw yesterday. And yesterday, Blackbird's Hyderabad did the same thing and ended up winning with a big margin again. So if we are going to see a carbon copy, Akil Rabindra is going to dominate. But I don't think that'll happen, because in the last couple of laps, Fabian Wolven has seemed to be upping the pace consistently. She's getting very close to Akil. And now when they get closer, I want to see that fight. But also, Jake, John Lancaster is going to be close by. He was so aggressive at the start. This is just going to become an even better race now.
You're absolutely right. I think the man to watch on this restart is going to be John Lancaster of Chennai Turbo Riders. He's the key player here. If he could get a good restart and hustle Fabian Wolven, he has the opportunity to get into second position and then challenge Akil Rabindra. Because looking at his lap times, his sectors are pretty strong, but putting the whole lap together, he's basically been impeded by Fabian Wolven, you know, perfectly acceptable defensive tactics. So there's not a lot John Lancaster can do unless he can get past Fabian Wolven. The difficulty is that you don't want to take too big a risk in making an overtaking move, because there's not a clear-cut position where to do it, because Fabian Wolven really is keeping John Lancaster very honest under racing conditions. So this race is going to be decided by John Lancaster, but not necessarily won by him. If he can get past Fabian Wolven quickly, it really is game on the victory between him and Akil Rabindra. If Rabindra gets a good start and Wolven keeps Lancaster at bay for longer, then Hyderabad Blackbird are going to make this 2 out of 2.
That is true, and I think that'll be the biggest worry for all the teams right here, especially Godspeed Kochi, who seem to be the closest to them in the championship, because even yesterday they had an amazing sprint race. So now, come to think of it, all the South Indian teams, we've got Hyderabad, Kochi, Chennai, all consistently fighting for wins right now. As you rightly mentioned, Jake, I am really keen to watch that yellow car number there. Car number 6, that of John Lancaster. Let me just confirm quickly. I think John Lancaster, I'll confirm now. He was P9 at the start, suddenly up to P3. So he knows how to nail those rolling starts correctly. But this time it'll be different, because behind him is the ultra-aggressive Raul Hyman, who's just won a major championship in the USA, who's going to go out to race in Japan after the series is done as well. So Raul has raced internationally. Some might say, okay, he's not got as many years in the bag as John Lancaster in the Chennai car, but he's got just as much as relevant experience as well. So that is one battle I want to watch. What does the Chennai team do? Look back? Look forward? What do they do? Because right now they're in this little spot where they need to focus on only one thing. But what is that one thing going to be eventually?
You're absolutely right. Raul Hyman is definitely a threat. Let's go out on the safety car, so it's going to be a very short safety car period, which is great news for us, because it means we get back under racing conditions. As it stands at the moment, folks, we have 6 different teams, and all 6 teams are in top 6. Would you believe it? Akil Rabindra, Wolven, John Lancaster, Raul Hyman, Shahan Ali Mozin, and Bianca Bustamante leading the way. Then Hyderabad Blackbirds in Godspeed Kochi, the Chennai Turbo Riders in front of Goa Aces, then the Speed D's Delhi team, and 6th position the Bangalore Speedsters with their drive getting ready for the restart. And look, Akil Rabindra backing up Fabian Wolven, wants to try and be tactical here. Now Neil Jani went for the restart on the top of the pine crest that they're approaching once they come off the S's and out of this sweeping section. Rabindra is backing him up very early, you can see that. So obviously he wants to cut through the right-hander. They're going to go up crest, And this is where he's gone for it. He stopped the throttle, but then absolutely perfectly anticipated it. So Rabindra is not going to have as good a restart as Neil Jani did yesterday. Green here at Chennai, but a perfect final turn for Akil Rabindra. Gives him a little bit of breathing space to Volven, but watch Lancaster and Hyman. Lancaster surging into turn one, hoping to shake off Raoul Hyman, but he's got to get on with this. Fabian Volven, and comes Raoul Hyman. Oh, inside, dives in third, gets John Lancaster. Brilliant move from Raoul Hyman, the South African from the city of Durban, has managed to get through to third place for the White Aces. So a great restart from Raoul Hyman, and now John Lancaster is in trouble here. Shahan Ali Wazin of the Speed Demons Delhi team is trying to take him on.
The reigning MRF national champion behind the wheel of that Speed Demons Delhi number 11 car, and him versus John Lancaster is going to be a fantastic battle for P4 right now. Shahan in that Speed Demons Delhi car is not content with P5. He's spoken to me about this morning that he wants to get a podium. He knows he's got the pace, and just look at the aggression with which he's driving right now, Jake. The car is squirming around, it's consistently sliding around over there and bouncing on those curves. You can see how badly Shahan wants it, but John is going to be a tough nut to crack because he's got so many years of experience, so many different cars driven, so many different circuits driven at. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's cool, calm, collected, but John at the same time needs to fight against Raoul Hyman too, because the Goa Aces driver in that blue number 7 car is up to Fabian Volven already. Wow!
Oh, an opportunity on the inside line. It gets in the second place. Let's see who he gets a bit of a tank slow as they go side by side over the top of the crest. Here comes the opportunity for Raoul Hyman. Drives in, takes the plate from Fabian Volven. Lovely move as they went sideways out of the penultimate corner. And now Raoul Hyman has moved the guys his car from P4 to P2. And now John Lancaster going to size up and move on Volven, and he gets through. Lovely move from the Chennai Turbo Riders driver. And they're back on the podium. And now it's good defensive tactics from Volven. Trying to keep back Shahan Ali Wazin. Brilliant racing here at Chennai. The Indian Racing League is fever pitch.
This is what the Indian Racing League is all about. Absolutely manic action all the way through. And wow, for Fabian Volven, it's all gone wrong in the matter of a couple of corners. But Raoul Hyman, how did he make that move in that final couple of corners? He's making moves at places where I've nobody ever seen make moves, right? Just before that crossover bridge that we've got over there. That is an odd place to send a move, but he did it with such conviction, even though his car was sliding, Jake. Wow, this guy is exciting. But for Fabian, eventually now, as you rightly mentioned, it becomes a defensive job, because after she lost the position right here, John Lancaster was the ultimate opportunist, cashed in at the right moment and also got P3. So this battle isn't over yet. Wow, for a second I thought Akil Rabindra's car was slowed down. No, it is slowed down. There is a red flag.
Red flag, red flag, red flag. Red flag, something's gone wrong there somewhere.
Oh my goodness,
red flag. Oh, that's a big shot. That's Raoul Hyman. That's Raoul Hyman. Now, well, my goodness, Raoul Hyman is at an offside. He did run one on the exit of the final turn when he made the move on Fabian Volven. So I wonder, has something broken on Raoul Hyman's car? There's Akil Rabindra in the background. We should see Raoul Hyman coming into shot. Oh my goodness, he's rolled it. Ay, that is a big one. And unfortunately, Raoul Hyman, well, he's out of the car. Thank goodness he's okay, but how on earth did he end coming into shot upside down? The car's coming into the pits, and don't know whether we'll get a restart or not, because we have now completed 75% race distance. But my goodness, how on earth did that happen, Samil?
I'll get to that in a second, but firstly, I'm so glad that Raoul Hyman is out of the car. We've seen terrible accidents in racing before. It is amazing to see that he is on his feet and he is moving completely. So that is, on first thoughts, incredible to watch. But secondly, I can't even forecast. I don't even know how you can roll the car like that. Because the curves at the Madras International Circuit are not that big. We've not got those major sausage curves where we can just fly over and the car completely turns around. So it'll take some imagination before we get a proper replay of that. But I don't know, Jake. This is just so absurd, because Raoul Hyman for the Goa Aces just had so much of pace. We saw him making so many aggressive moves at places where we've seen nobody make those moves. But I don't know, was that aggression going a bit too over? We will have to wait to find out, but luckily he's okay, and that is the most important thing right now.
Well, got on our time incident at turn 7. Both drivers are okay. So I'm not really sure who the second driver would be. I'm just looking down the lane. There is John. mechanical problems, as did Nikhil Bora of the Godspeed Kochi team, by the way. So Nikhil Bora dropped out of the race just as the race was restarting. He had a mechanical problem with his car, I'm afraid. Who else is down there? Anindith Red, the second Hyderabad Blackbirds car, is in pit road. So is Parth Gopada, is that right? The number 5 car at the back of the field there. Yeah, he went back out onto the circuit again. So Parth Gopada, having had some mechanical problems, and he decided to go back out onto the track again to finish the race. So the car that's missing would appear to be... Well, I can't see Shahan Ali Mohsin, and I can't see Bianca Bustamante down there. So I think there's either a separate incident or maybe it's the same incident. I don't know. It's a very strange situation. The problem is we've only got half the incident, really. We've only got what happened to Raul Hyman. We don't know how it happened. And there's Bianca Bustamante stood out of her car. I can see her to the right of your picture. So she's okay. She's in pit road as well with everybody. Now, this is the exit of the corner. This is Akil Rabindra, and this is in full speed time. Watch. Wow. That is absolutely monstrous from Raul Hyman. And as you rightly said, Sunil, thank goodness he got out of the car under his own steam. He's okay. Oh, off the road. We just saw there. Now, was Shahan Ali Mohsin, I think, going off the road the same place? Because that looks like... I'm just trying to make who that is behind Fabio Volvent. Is that Shahan Ali Mohsin or is that Bianca Bustamante? The problem in the Battle of Speeds and Speed Demons Dead cars look very similar to each other. So that looks like Ali Mohsin there. So that... Oh, no, sorry, that's Celia Martin. That's actually Celia Martin's car, the Speed Demons Delhi number 12. And walking away, there is Shahan Ali Mohsin. So that Shahan Ali Mohsin away from the scenes. So that tells us a little bit about what's going on.
Yep, Shahan... From what we saw, which is the same picture that we saw with you folks, Shahan just got ahead of that crash when Raul flipped over. So I suppose there was something between the two of them, which is absurd because Raul was racing in third. We had John Lancaster in the middle. Shahan was one position behind, if he was that. So it's a little confusing what's going on right now. But let's take a quick look at the highlights of the race so far before we got that red flag. Super start by Akil Rabindra at the very beginning, and he just pulled away. But the battle behind between Fabian Wolven and John Lancaster in the Chennai Turbo Riders car, that, Jake, was superb.
Yeah, really good to see how they've been able to build that. John Lancaster did a fantastic job. Got himself into third position. Man to watch, though, was Raul Hyman. Look how he intimidated Bianca Bustamante early on and then started to take his moves. We look in the background and we're going to see, here we go, Raul Hyman just stepping up the attack on the Philippines racer Bianca Bustamante. And it was when he decided to make the move, that's when the race really changed. Here we go, this is the start of it. So Raul Hyman is in Bianca Bustamante. There goes the move, Shahan Ali Mohsin. And look, Hyman just dives in on the inside of Bustamante. Bustamante can't react in time. Ends up sending Shahan Ali Mohsin and Nikhil Bora road. Bora ended up having some mechanical problems with his car as a result of that. And I'm afraid his race is now over. Once we got going again on the safety car, look at Hyman, just absolutely ruthless. Climbs in on the inside of Fabian Volvent, makes the move. Watch him on the exit of the final corner. Look, he dropped it there on the curb. He was pushing mighty, mighty hard to try and get well clear. So some big moves there. Now there is Bianca Bustamante. So she is coming to the pits behind Celia Martin. I think she went off the road with Shahan Ali Mohsin and has ended up dropping down the field. I think that's what's happened. I mean, I can only infer that based on the fact that Bianca Bustamante is coming to the pit lane behind Celia Martin, a long way behind Fabio Volven. So clearly there's been more to this incident than meets the eye. And it would not surprise me, based on the battle that we saw earlier on anyway. You know, the incident at turn 7 will be investigated after the race, is what we're told on the timing screen. I think Mohsin and Bustamante have ended up in a separate incident to Raul Hyman. Now, how on earth Raul Hyman ended up on his roof? Or, well, on his airbox, I should say, on an air hoop. I don't really know, because the problem is that this circuit does have a bumpy nature line. So I can only begin to imagine that he's gone wide offline, bounced around on the grass a mill, and the sheer speed he was travelling at has essentially pitched the centre of gravity of the car and transitioned him into a roll.
Yeah, it's absurd actually. It's so hard to imagine. But the one thing I want to talk about is that I'm glad that the cars have done a good job of keeping the drivers okay, right? That is frankly fantastic. That's great to see. But luckily for us, we will come back with some more racing action in a very, very short period of time. The drivers are getting into the car, and that is great to see. But I don't know about that accident. So observe how it happened, right?
Yeah, very, very complex situation. I think we're going to need to get Sukhmani and this is down there to unpick in the break between race 2, the feature race. And of course, what that does mean, of course, that the number 7 car, the Aces car of Rahul Hyman and Gabriel Ilkova, is going to be able to take the start of the feature race. It looked very badly damaged there, Sunil. I'm not sure that car's going to be...
Me either, right? I'm very, very concerned about that. But actually, we shall find out more about it. But first, folks, we'll need to go to a quick commercial break. We'll be back very, very shortly with more action from the second sprint race. And also, we'll be able to see if that Goa Aces car makes it back for the feature race. But first, it's time for a short break. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2022 Indian Racing League right here at the Madras International Circuit. My name is Somal Arora. I'm joined by two-time national champion Gaurav Dalal. We are in the middle of sprint race number 2, but of course we have to give you an update about what is happening. We had a small incident between Rahul Hyman and it seemed like Shahan Ali Mohsin at one of the corners right here. Both the drivers are okay. They're out of the car. They're all physically safe. They're all okay. So that is a great, great sign. And the cars have done a great job at withstanding all the impact. So it's great to see all the drivers doing completely all right. But this means that we have a red flag. The race has been temporarily stopped. We may or may not go back racing for this sprint race, but we, of course, will be back for the feature race coming in a short while. But we shall talk about the sprint race that happened so far, because, Gaurav, in the meantime, we had a fabulous race. There were battles everywhere.
What just happened?
Yeah.
Really, what just happened? As in, this race had everything what an entire F1 race would probably have. We've had a rolling start, we've had a safety car, we've had some good racing, good clean racing, good iffy racing, and a roll where it even shows how safe the actual car is.
Yep.
As in that's, so when as much as dangerous the sport is in terms to say, but the safety features of the car is on point. Your harnesses that you have, the helmet that you wear, the harns you wear, the roll cage, the car is rock solid, which can take multiple flips like this. But coming back to the race, I'm rather confused with what happened. I'm really confused, and very sad that we don't really have coverage over there on what actually happened. But what do you think really happened?
About the accident? Well, we're not quite sure about that, so best not to speculate. But let's show you the highlights so far, because that I'm not confused about, Gaurav. What we saw was just pandemonium everywhere. I mean, we saw, as you mentioned, a great rolling start. Bianca Bustamante for Bangalore Speedsters having a tricky one, but John Lancaster of Chennai, 9th to 3rd. That is amazing.
No, it was a brilliant rolling start for him. And another commendable was after the safety car was brought in, on how Rahul Hyman climbed, as in 2-3 corners, and he was right up there.
Yeah, and then after that as well, we saw some really great racing. Fabian Wolven of Godspeed Coach was able to defend very, very well for a point.
Yes.
Because then after that...
Till the safety car.
Yeah, till the safety car, because then...
Post safety car, 2-3 corners, and she was from 2nd to P4. I really don't know where she lost that.
Yeah, because we saw battles like this one, where drivers like Rahul Hyman made really bold moves, and then this big incident. What do you have to say about this, Gaurav?
I think over here, who was it? Competition number 3, Celia, is it?
Yeah, no, we had Bianca Bustamante being hit, not hit per se, but she had to move down the inside by Rahul.
Pushed. I mean, it was, anyway, that I don't want to speculate on that either. But, I mean, it's a racing incident at the end of the day, so there's nothing much that we can really do.
Yeah, and it was amazing, right? Rahul Hyman, until he had that accident, was just flying. He was making moves in so many different corners. Gaurav, have you ever seen a move at that corner right there? The corner before the crossover bridge, which is a very, very slow left-hand turn, where I, frankly, have never seen a move. But have you seen that?
It's basically the right after the slow left, and it's a very rare place to actually overtake. And it was a brilliant move. And he ended it up being quite clean. I was actually quite worried that the exit is going to cause Fabian to spin. But luckily it was clean, and it was a very bold move to say. So I think it caught her by shock as well. And she didn't really know what to do. And
So what do you think was the biggest surprise? Was it the big surprise that Fabian Wolven, unfortunately, with all her pace, lost a couple of positions at the start? Or do you reckon it was a bigger surprise that John Lancaster was able to climb so many places so quickly?
See, so a move like that can actually shock the driver a little bit. So that 2-3 corners, you suddenly just don't know what happened and where did that car come from and how did that overtake happen. So these are things that are part of racing, and obviously a very strong mind is important in terms of keeping your composure through the rest corners.
Exactly. But Fabian Wolven, well, she is fantastic for the Godspeed Kochi team. She had an amazing start, and hopefully, once we get the race going once again, she's able to challenge all the other drivers, because we've seen some great pace from her. But otherwise, right, for a second, I want to talk about John Lancaster. Of course, let's actually get to John in a second. Let's talk about the driver right here. Akil Rabindra, very much Indian, very much a star in the GT4 racing category. But in this Wolf GBO8 as well, he's showing some raw pace. He qualified first, and now this performance so far, amazing.
I like his wit. On the grid, when they were interviewing him, he said all you have to do is make sure the car remains on the grey stuff. Grey stuff, he meant, is the track.
Yeah.
So to finish first, you have to first finish. I think that's what he was trying to say.
Good point. And Akil really is proving that for the Blackbirds Hyderabad team, who now, as it stands, could be on for 2 sprint race wins in a row. So they could become, in a way, the first team to get 2 wins in a row in the Indian Racing League in the first couple of races of this very championship. So that is dominance to another level completely. But I don't think this will remain the same if we get the race going, because now, Gaurav, once the safety car comes back out to lead this pack in, right, the pack will be bunched up, they will all be close together. So this could mean that the drivers behind, like Fabian, like John Lancaster, could challenge him big time.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think, have you got confirmation that the cars are getting out of the pit lane?
We shall find out rather soon. So we will let you know as soon as we know. But yeah.
But when they do come out, it's going to be interesting. I think there's about 3.5 odd minutes left, which should give them about 3 laps with the +1. So this 3 laps is actually going to be quite action-packed.
Let's actually wait to see how it happens. But now you can, of course, see the Godspeed Kochi team. And yesterday, Godspeed Kochi had an amazing race. They had one car finishing second, one car finishing fourth. Today, they've got Fabian Wolven in such a good position. All the way back as well, though. We saw some tricky moments. For a second, I want to talk about Bianca Bustamante, Gaurav, because she, unfortunately, for the Bangalore Speedsters team, had a bit of a tricky start when she started in P2. Well, what do you reckon happened there in that case?
See, again, like I said, she is on P2 because of the qualifying of her teammate. So whether her pace today was equal to what she's actually positioned is obviously debatable over here. And obviously Fabian and John had much better pace than her. So it really helped her. I mean, didn't go to her favor.
Yeah, unfortunate that it's not working out well, but hopefully she gets another chance to make things right. And also, she will be racing in the feature race that comes up rather soon right here on the Indian Racing League, where in the feature race, we will have 2 drivers sharing the car with a driver swap in the middle of the race as well. So that's going to be fun. And I can't wait to see how eventually that plays out. But for a second, Goa Aces, tough for them. Rahul Hyman before that crash, he was very fast, but where do you reckon he would have ended up?
No, I think he would have finished at number 2 as well.
And also number 2, we shall talk about that in 1 second. But firstly, feature race. I spoke about that early on. Let's complete that conversation. It is going to be full of 35 minutes plus 1 lap. There is going to be a driver change in the middle. But importantly, they have to have a minimum stop time of 3 minutes, Gaurav.
Yes, and point number 3, 2 and 4 is very important over here. Pit window opens at 12th minute and it closes at 22nd. So this change has to happen between these 10 minutes. So it depends on which of the driver is faster that they're going to give that little extra bit to. So out of the 35 minutes, one of them will probably get, like for example, Anil Jani and his teammate. I think both are equally good. They're doing brilliant over here for Hyderabad. So it's going to be important as to which driver comes in when and for how long that driver is going to be out.
Indeed, but that is the jury for the feature race. Now, luckily, we're getting news that the sprint race is going to be restarted for a couple of laps. So, Gaurav, quick question. From what you've seen so far, do you think Hyderabad Blackbirds will be able to maintain their position in the sprint race, or do you reckon maybe the likes of Fabian Wolven for Kochi can catch up and get second and get FC1?
That's for something we'll have to wait and watch. But considering the pace he's been having all through, I think he's going to hold it good over there.
I can't wait to watch. We are going to get a couple of laps.
But what's going to be interesting is 2nd, 3rd and 4th place. That fight is going to be interesting over here to see on how John, Fabian and whoever is behind that. I'm a little confused on the order as well right now. So we're getting, I think, about 5 minutes, which is about 3 laps plus 1. So, yes, cars are rolling out. There's going to be a safety car in front of them, I guess. And then there will be a rolling start again.
Indeed, yes, so many drivers to watch for, especially John Lancaster in P3. But the live race action from sprint race number 2 returns after a short break, where I'll be back on commentary with, right now, firstly, we're going to have Jake Sanson. Then we get to see the action from the sprint race right now. So let's go to Jake, shall we?
5 minutes plus 1 lap. That is all drivers will get for the restart of this 2nd sprint race of the Indian Racing League on the Madras International Circuit here at Arunga Tukatoy. Jake Sanson and Sumil Arora in the commentary box, along with Gaurav Batal. And obviously we also have Sukhmani Sadana and Sisvalia down in mid lane trying to grab the stories. They didn't quite have the chance, unfortunately, to discuss the incident that brought us under red flag conditions with either John Lancaster or Fabian Wolven. They would have been the perfect people to keep an eye on what's actually happening out there, of course. But obviously they've got a race to run, and that's what they're primarily focused on. Hopefully we'll be able to unpick the nuts and bones of that particular incident when we join things. Notice that Parthiv Pada has managed to get back out onto the circuit again and rejoin. And there is the gate of Amir Saeed, who also had some technical problems. So he has managed to get the car going again. So by my math, we've got 8 cars out there to take the restart. Obviously, there is no Will Hyman, there is no Jahan Ali Musin, there's no Yashar Adja, and there's no Nikhil Bora. Everybody else has managed to get their car back into play once again. And obviously, it's going to be those 3 cars at the start of the grid once again. Akil Rabindra, Fabien Volvend and John Lancaster that are going to be battling away for the victory. Now, trying to see who is in front of who, like not out on a safety car yet. Second is Fabien Volvend. So I wonder if Raoul Hyman and John Lancaster were dueling for second position, and that's how the incident occurred, because Fabien Volvend has somehow ended up in front of John Lancaster again. So I wonder if that's to do with it. But obviously, as you mentioned earlier, Neil, it's not worth speculating. The lights are out on safety cars, so we're about to go racing again.
Indeed, yes. And now Akil Rabindra has to do all the hard work once again, because now Fabien Volvend and John Lancaster, the 2 of them will be behind him right now. And I want to watch for John. I've been mentioning it in the studio show as well. He went from 9th to 3rd in that first restart. He knows how to nail a rolling start right now. So for Fabien, it'll be something to worry about. But behind as well, there are so many interesting drivers to watch. But now for the home team, they've got lots of support. Everyone is cheering very hard for them. I think John Lancaster and that yellow Chennai car will be one to watch for. But for Blackbird's Hyderabad, Jake, can they make it 2-2? That'll be the ultimate start.
Well, there's been a lot of time elapsed between the 2 starts, so that's obviously going to play into this. Suddenly, Anindith Reddy is in the hunt, because all of that chaos, and he's just kept himself out of harm's way. He's now in 5th place for the Hyderabad Blackbirds. So considering what might happen here, there could be a double podium for the team. You never quite know. Into the pits comes the safety car. Rabindra has chosen that moment out of the square right to go on the throttle. And again, Fabien Volvend is not quite ready for it. So they come through, and this is going to be a restart. We are under green flag conditions again here at Chennai. Second, under pressure from Anindith Reddy. Reddy gets on the inside line and makes the move on Bustamante nice and early. So Anindith Reddy, suddenly the Hyderabad Blackbird 6th car is now up in P4 as the speed demonstrator car of Celia Martin is going to be the next one to close up on Bianca Bustamante. Bianca's definitely got an issue with that car. It is nowhere near the same sort of pace that we saw it under the hands of Rukam Rajiv. And no Bianca Bustamante of old. She is definitely having an issue with that car. That's not driver skill. She is much more talented than the car is allowing her to be at the moment.
Yeah, indeed. I think Bianca, with a little more time, shall be a little bit faster. But that right there was a fantastic move by Anindith Reddy for the green Blackbirds Hyderabad car. Very well measured, very well thought of. So eventually now, he is up into P4. And you're right, Jake. We could end up seeing a double Blackbirds Hyderabad podium. But first, Anindith in that number 10 car has to get past John Lancaster. And that is going to be some challenge right now. But for Anindith, he's a Hyderabad boy. He knows the support behind him, because last time out when we were in Hyderabad, there were so many fans cheering for him. He knows the stakes that are up on this very occasion. Can he convert it in the next 4 odd minutes? The time is short, but the talent is right there.
Now, Parth Parter in the second Chennai Turbo Riders car has gone back out onto the circuit again. He's 8 laps adrift of the leaders, so he is not going to be in the play of the race victory. But what they are doing by sending him back out is preparing the car ready for the feature race to make sure that whatever issues they've had are dialed out and they can get back on with racing in the feature. So Parth Parter playing the long game here, ready for the feature race by getting back out on the circuit. He's showing us last place because he hasn't completed as many laps as Hyman, Mohsin, Bora or Aradia. But it's perfectly tactics for the team at Chennai Turbo Riders to send him back out, because they need to do some preliminary running to make sure the car is going to be good enough for the feature race. So that's good work from Chennai Turbo Riders. The other man, John Lancaster, is currently piggy in the middle at the moment. He's trying to get his way through past Fabien Volvend, whilst also fending off a new onslaught from Anindith Reddy, who wants to get the team on the podium. That would be a fantastic coup for the Chennai Turbo Riders to get a podium on home soil. And they've every much of a chance doing so here in the sprint as they have in the feature. But every opportunity you have of getting rostrum, you've got to try and take it. So John Lancaster desperately trying to put him and Sandeep Kumar on the podium here at Irungatoi. But there is an opportunity here for the man up front, Akil Rabindra, to put him and Jani back on the top for the podium as they ended yesterday.
indeed, and now we've got a three-way fight for P number 2. So far in that number 1 Godspeed coaching car, Fabian Woolven has done a tremendous job to keep her position after the restart. She's been incredibly cool and incredibly calm at maintaining that position, and John just doesn't seem to have that extra bit of pace that he had before the restart. I wonder what's going on. Is his tyres up to the right temperature? Is he able to get them on properly for the right performance? That we shall see in the next couple of laps. But now the occasion is on. A three-way battle for P2. This is exactly how I'd love a race to end. This is going to be fantastic. Keep an eye on this one, folks. Things could change dramatically.
And Indith Reddy really pushed the apron through turn 1, getting on the curbs, kicking up the dust from the grass, so he really is pushing hard to try and get onto John Lancaster. Lancaster in the Chennai Turbo Riders car, dropping it off the curb a little bit there as well, on the way out of left-hander after turn 3. So a tricky situation there for John Lancaster. He wants to stay as close to Fabian Woolven as possible. Interesting though, first of all, Samir, off the restart, Akil Rabindra has not been able to pull away the same might that he did in the original start. So I wonder if there are some teething troubles starting to creep in there for the number 9 in the Hyderabad Blackbirds car for Akil Rabindra. Either that, or he's just trying to take it a little bit tentatively, being a little bit gentle as he goes around the course. But we are running short on time. The time is going to tick down to 0 on this lap. You're going to get one more lap next time around, I believe. But John Lancaster, look at him, all over the back of Fabian Woolven. This is his chance, and he knows it.
Indeed, he does. And for Fabian, this is going to be some drive to the very end. It's going to be entertaining for sure, but clearly not an easy one. And on the point that you mentioned about Akil Rabindra in that leading Blackbirds Hyderabad car, it's so hard to tell, right? Is it just him taking it easy? Is it him not getting the tyres up to the right temperature? Is it maybe him not being able to push to the right level? It's so hard to tell at that moment. Whatever it is working fine for now. But things have changed. The dynamic has changed. He no longer is the fastest driver on the track. That honour belongs to Anindith Reddy in that 4th place Blackbirds Hyderabad car. He is pushing like anything, but it seems like in the last couple of corners, he has lost some time, so I wonder what's happening. Is it suddenly a two-way battle for P3 again?
Samir, one of the things to... Oh, that's a big one. That's Célia Martin. Célia Martin's gone into the barriers. That's a big one. And I'm afraid that's going to be a non-stop for Speed Demons Day number 12 for the feature race as well. Now, question is, where has that happened? Oh, just running slightly wide, and that's going to spin right off the road into the barriers. No way of getting out of that one. So easily done. And Célia Martin, unfortunately, off the road there on the exit onto the back straight. Now, we are just going to be able to finish this race, I do believe, because she's off the racing line, so that's not going to need a safety car. It'll need double wave yellows for sure, but that's not going to need a safety car. And then Reddy has suddenly dropped off the back of John Lancaster, so yellow flags are out. That's double wave yellows, and her car is right off the line, so I don't think that's going to need a safety car. It's just going to need yellow flags. But what I was going to mention there, Samir, is that as they came across the line at the end of the last lap, there was only about 7 seconds left of the race, so this is 2 laps to go, not 1 lap to go. And now Akil Rabindra is going to go to the final turn, and he will start the final lap, so that's going to be even tougher as far as the composure is concerned. We go into the last lap, they go. This is it now on air for Akil Rabindra and also Fabian Woolven under pressure from John Lancaster, who is the fastest man on the circuit in Sector 1. So John Lancaster can sense that he's got a chance to go for second. If he gets it right, he may just be able to catch out Akil Rabindra. And look, Fabian Woolven getting very close to Rabindra all of a sudden. So Woolven has not given up on the victory. The Godspeed Kochi driver still hustling Akil Rabindra. Is something happening with the Hyderabad Blackbirds car? Because suddenly Fabian Woolven is all over the back, trying to make the big go for the move.
Jake, it's all going wrong. Akil's sector times are suddenly much slower than what he normally has been posting in this race. So, in the last couple of laps, I don't know what it is. Is it the car getting slower? Is it just a heat? Is it just a mental element of restarting and getting back to your top performance level? I don't know what it is, but suddenly for Blackbirds Hyderabad in the number 9 car, things are getting tougher, but so far so good in terms of track position. That at the Madras International Circuit is vital, and suddenly it seems like Akil has pulled back a couple of tenths here and there, but it isn't over. We've seen Raul Hyman make moves at the last corner as well, so anything could happen still.
Well, this is not done by any means, and Rabindra trying his best to keep it nice and tidy. He's coming into the penultimate turn now. Just got to keep it nice and planted, but any wrong moves and he is going to be spat out. It's not the dominant victory that it was yesterday in Jani, but is going to be 2 out of 2 for the Hyderabad Blackbirds. Akil Rabindra crosses the line. He gets the job done. Gopi Kochi in second place. Third for the Chennai Turbo Riders on home soil. My goodness, a race of 2 halves and a very dramatic one. And Akil Rabindra can breathe a sigh of relief. He has done what his teammate Jani did yesterday and brought home the number 9 Hyderabad Blackbirds car to its 2nd win of the weekend. That was close.
Crazy, crazy. We had a big safety car, we had a big restart, but still Akil Rabindra holding his nerve and eventually making it 2 wins out of 2 for the Blackbirds Hyderabad. That in itself is a record set. But talk about Godspeed Kochi and Fabi Woolman as well. They've got another podium in the bag, Jake. That is amazing. We now are seeing 2 top teams having a top battle at the very beginning for the feature race. I am so pumped to see how they stack up to each other.
That's a really good point. Alistair Young, of course, brought home the number 2 car in second place yesterday. Fabian Volven now brings the number 1 car home in second place. So both cars obviously looking very strong. Now, of course, what we need to consider then is how the 2 drivers working together is going to turn into a strong race. It certainly gives Hyderabad Blackbirds a feature race advantage because both of their drivers have taken a victory. Gopi Kochi have a very strong team behind them. John Lancaster has his European Le Mans Series experience to take into the feature race. So there's all sorts of variables, and there's going to be a couple of cars missing by the look of it. I don't see Celia Martin and the Speed Delhi number 12 being out there in time with Mitch Gilbert to get onto the grid for the feature race. That is a lot of damage to her car. And similarly for Raul Hyman and Gabriele Jukova after Raul Hyman's incident, I don't think that car's going to be out on the grid either. So it's going to be very tight between Sprint Round 2 and the feature race to see who's to make it in and who's not. But I would estimate we're only going to get 10 cars of the 12 starting this feature race. Certainly for Hyderabad Blackbirds, it couldn't be sweeter. And Indeed Reddy fighting his way through and surging back to P4. And Akil Rabindra following Jani's lead from yesterday and picking up win number 2 for the boys in green and black.
What a drive, what a win. With Fabian Woolman and the Godspeed Kochi team behind in second, I'm just intrigued, I'm just curious. In fact, this race doesn't answer my questions, it just raises more of them. What about the longer feature race? How will they be able to compete? Who will be the faster one over a 35-minute distance? There's just so many exciting things to look forward to. But Jake, it is so hard to pick one star performer, but if you had to, who would it be for you?
From this particular race, it's probably got to go to John Lancaster, actually. Lancaster charging his way through from the tail end of the field and then working his way forward to get a victory, well, get on the podium in the end. It was his comeback after initially losing ground that was so spectacular when Raul Hyman got past him. But this is where Akil Rabindra manages to hold on despite the pressure from Fabian Volvend and John Lancaster. It's always going to be tough to soak up the pressure. He didn't have it the same way Neil Jani did yesterday with a dominant win, but a victory for Akil Rabindra regardless, and that one will feel particularly sweet because it was so hard won. The second half of that race definitely not as easy as the first half ended up being. So Hyderabad Blackbirds making it 2 out of 2. And a very relieved Akil Rabindra, I'm sure. It won't be quite as jubilant as yesterday, but he'll be very much a breathing sigh of relief. The cars have obviously gone round the tail end of the pit lane because they now need to be prepared for the feature race. So it's not quite going to be the same sort of ceremony as we saw at the end of race 1. Because obviously the teams now need to get to work in the interim, especially considering that now we obviously have that delay from the flag incident that we saw earlier. But I'm sure that Mani Sudana and Zixis Vadia are going to be down there getting all the stories in preparation for the feature race. But wow, 2 from 2 from the Hyderabad Blackbirds. Hyderabad Blackbirds, I should say. I'm starting to lose command of my worms. Fabian Volvend in second place for the Godspeed Kochi team, the 25-year-old from Stellenberg in Liechtenstein. And John Lancaster, the young man from Leeds, for the Chennai Turbo Riders. They get a top 3 finish, and they're strong heading to the feature race.
There we are.
So there's your provisional results. Akil Rabindra and the Blackbirds are in spot. Fabian Volve in second from John Lancaster. And in fifth ready, then Bianca Bustamante, the Bangalore Speedsters. Amir is there in a fantastic job. Amir Saeed bringing the Goa Ace car home in P6 in the end. Sia Martin unable to finish the race. Raul Hyman likewise. Shahan Ali Mozin, Nikhil Bora and Sharadia all retiring. Parth Kapada not managing to complete as many laps as the others out there. So the Blackbirds just to pick up 2 from Samil, and that's a pretty good start to the weekend.
It is indeed. For all the other teams, it was just a drive of survival all the way through. And I also want to point out the performance from Bianca Bustamante, because we saw her getting a tough start initially, but the way she was able to hold her own eventually at the end of the race was pretty good. She's adapting to this car pretty well, and she's been able to manage it out so well, right, all the way through, holding her own and finishing where she does. So it's great to see. But now I wonder what we have next in store, Jake.
Yeah, she managed to hold off Amir Saeed's last-minute charge there in 6th position, who was trying to work his way forward. He's been racing in French F4 this year, so he knows the competitive field when he sees one. But there you go. There's the congratulations there from Bianca Bustamante, I think, to Fabienne Volvend, 2 drivers who know each other very well indeed. That's it for the moment. There is going to be more great action on the way here on the Madras International Circuit, as the feature race is not far away.
And now we've got Sukhmani, who's downstairs with one of the drivers.
All right, so we have the winner here with us. Akil, how are you feeling? You know, you guys have been like dominating all of yesterday, the entire weekend. What's the secret?
Nothing. We went, we planned everything. We planned our practice, we planned our quali, we executed on our plan, and it just the results are the fruits of that. So incredibly happy with the team. Neil, my teammate, and other car, Anandit and Lola, we're all working together very well. Our mechanics are very good, engineers very good, so it's all just coming together.
It is all coming together, but there was a restart altogether. I'm sure there's a lot of pressure that builds up. Were you able to focus once after the restart again?
Yeah, there were 2 restarts actually. So there's one during the race and one red flag. Yeah, it always, I think both the first, when the race started and after the restart, I did have some gap. So I was a bit relaxed. I think in the second restart I was sweating a bit because I had these cars behind me, and yeah, I think it's good. It mixes up everything, pulls the pack together, but happy to be in the front at the end.
All right, Akil, all the best. He's been consistent with his performance all throughout. We're wishing you all the best for the rest of the race. Thank you. Back to the...
Great to hear from Akil Rabindra after winning the second sprint race. But now we'll be back with the studio show. But first, we've got to go for a quick break. Jagger, when we'll have him. Okay. And there we have it, folks. Sprint race number 2 for the Indian Racing League is in the bag. And we've got a result, which is the best thing possible. But what a result we had, Gaurav. This was...
What a race. Brilliant
fabulous
race, good fun, entertainment packed. And like I said, Fabian, my money was on her. And P2 for her, not bad. I mean, definitely would have liked the P1 for her. But nevertheless, good to see a lady right on top of the podium over there. And good race. I think the three of them kept their composure after the second safety car start. And I think Anandit helped Fabian's cause because he kept John actually occupied. Because otherwise John would have been gunning for the front, but here John was looking at the back on Anandit gunning for him. So I think Anandit came and helped Fabian's cause. And I think the podium is well deserved by the three of them.
Absolutely. That was quite a good race. And let's actually take a look at the highlights of the race. Just what exactly went on when the race was going on. We firstly had that opening start, the rolling one, where Akil Rabindra was able to hold on. Then we had John Lancaster, as I mentioned early on, 9th to 3rd. That was his star moment of the race. But then, Gaurav, the way he was able to keep Fabian Woolman on her tail was also amazing because Fabian never had a second to breathe. John was always there.
No, absolutely. So, while the fact that he was right at her throat, she was totally composed. That brings in, that shows the experience that she has and what she's diced in the past. And it's definitely not easy to keep somebody right so close to you, behind you, because there are 2-3 straights over here where slipstream also will help. And it really didn't look like they were doing any unclean racing, so to say. It was very clean, and the two of them drove like mature drivers. And here we have this little incident which was a little immature according to me.
Yeah, that was Rahul Hyman sending one on Bianca Mustamante. Very, very bold move, that one. But eventually we saw a couple of cars going out into the grass as a precautionary measure. But even though...
But back to that, Saumil, sorry to stop you there. But a move like that can actually cause a lot of damage. So Rahul could have given a little more space to it and not really go and touch her. Because I think that definitely made her go out, and in the bargain, the two cars behind, they also missed an incident that definitely, thank God it didn't happen. But coming back to over here, after the safety car, what do you think about the second restart?
That was crazy because Fabian Woolman consistently, as you rightly mentioned, had John Lancaster behind and Anandit Reddy in that second Blackbird's Hyderabad car too. We had this unfortunate crash for Celia Mata. She crashed out at one of the corners right there, back-end impact. But in the back right there, we saw Anandit Reddy for the second Hyderabad car, consistently putting on pressure. And as you mentioned, Gaurav, putting John under pressure. But eventually, Akil, his teammate, took the checkered flag, which was fantastic. But
I think in all this talk, we've forgotten to mention Akil. He did a brilliant job, yeah. He was totally composed. And surprising, like yesterday, what Neil Jani did, Akil over here with the same car has done from start to finish.
Indeed, but his teammate Anandit in that second Blackbird's Hyderabad car almost to 4th. That is a great result. That is a great comeback, and well on because his lap times were just on par with the leaders.
So that's Anandit for you, as in he's also talented. He's won multiple national championships here. He knows this track very well. Young, very, very powerful driver, so to say. So, I mean, he was also composed and he knew how to claw his way up.
Yeah, that was great to see. Then we also had John Lancaster, Fabian Woolman getting their podiums for their respective teams. So, good that we have a Chennai team getting a podium at home. It pleases the fans, there is one thing. But there could be another opportunity for them to take a victory when we come back with the feature race. But what was the most surprising element about this race for you, Gaurav? Was it just the chaos or was it some particular driver?
My surprising element was Rahul. After the first safety car restart, the way he took John and Fabian in 2-3 corners, as in from P4 he was P2, and within again 2-3 corners he had flipped. He had flipped. So I really don't know. As in he's an action-packed guy, like we mentioned yesterday, a total Bollywood star, a fan that he is, loves Shah Rukh Khan. So he's given us a lot of action over here in those few laps.
Yeah, and I'm glad that Rahul is okay. He had that scary accident and the car has done a good job of keeping him safe and fine. Same for Celia Martin as well. She's totally okay, so the drivers are out. Same with Shan Ali Mohsin as well, if you're wondering. So all the drivers are safe and okay. But the one thing that has to be said, Gaurav, is that this one was literally a drive to survive. We had so few cars finishing.
Yeah, that's rather unfortunate. That's rather unfortunate. So, like you mentioned over here about the drivers and the cars reducing, but the excitement for them is the feature race.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know I'm a driver, I've raced a lot. that excitement of the next race will make you forget what happened. So I'm sure they're all looking forward. I'm sure all the cars are back into the garage getting prepped, because there is a reasonable amount of damage done in multiple cars.
That's true.
Right from the roll cages getting damaged to bodywork, and there were a couple of cars that entered the pit lane. So the mechs are going to be totally action-packed and busy with getting the cars prepped for the feature race, which is a 40-minute race.
Yeah, and also, I want to talk about how the damage comes about. We've got lots of grass around the Madras International Circuit everywhere. Whenever you're not on the tarmac, you're basically on the grass over here. And we saw Celia make that mistake, a very rare one because she's such a good driver. But what happens when you put one wheel on the grass, Gaurav?
See, first of all, the tarmac is there for a reason. You need to stick to it. But yes, when your car does go off and the tail, your rear wheel, what happened to her was her rear wheel went onto the mud.
Yeah.
And it has been raining on and off. So the mud is a little loose over here. It is a little slushy. So the moment her rear wheel went on, it just totally flipped and she lost control totally. There was nothing that she could do.
Yeah, really unfortunate for her, the way it played out. But rather soon, folks, we will be back with the feature race as well. And that one is going to be a 35-minute race where we are going to have 35 minutes plus one lap, also a driver swap in the middle. So you will see a pit stop. But Gaurav, is that the one thing that excites you the most about the feature? Because there are other things as well, like two drivers, one team, that's going to be different, right?
Exactly. So a car that was doing well in the first half can do badly the second half, depending on the driver swap. So it's something that's going to be exciting. Like I said, strategy is going to come in play where they should ideally decide which of their two drivers they're going to be sending out first and who's going to do the second stint. So it's definitely going to be exciting to see. Again, my money is going to be on the team that has actually been doing well. Neil, Jani and Akil, they're definitely a powerhouse of a team. But Fabian and Ruhan Alva and Fabian I think they are going to be, they didn't get qualifying in. So, but they've shown us what they built and what they made of in both the sprint races, the race 1 and 2. Yesterday, Ruhan was brilliant, starting last because no timing was set in qualifying to finishing 4th. And Fabian over here finishing 2nd. So I think Kochi is going to give a run for money to Hyderabad.
Indeed, yeah. And now talking about the Hyderabad team, let's talk about the driver that got them that second sprint race, Akil Rabindra. What makes him so special? Let's actually find out.
Hi, my name is Akil Rabindra. I'm 26 years old and I'm from Bangalore. The highlights of my career are I've been on the Aston Martin Racing Academy now for 4 years. This year I got 2 podiums at Imola in the GD4 European Series. In 2019 I became 3rd in the IRL. I also got a few more podiums between 2019 and 2022 in GD4 Series. It's exciting, it challenges you, it makes you think, you got to be fit to drive, so it's a very nice composition of all these mixture to be a fast, consistent driver. So I've been racing now for 11 years, so I think I've learned how to handle my nerves. We've got an awesome street circuit we're going to be racing on. It's a first for many people. We're racing these wonderful cars called Wolf and some really good international drivers coming in. So all in all, it's going to be a spectacle for everyone.
And there we are, folks, for the podium for the second sprint race. The winners, the Blackbirds Hyderabad team in the middle in their grey suits, Neil Jani and Akil Rabindra. Neil qualified the car, Akil raced the car, and that, Gaurav, is a proper team performance right
Absolutely, absolutely. It's very exciting to see, like I mentioned yesterday, both the drivers on the podium because it is a team effort. One qualifies and the other races. And over here, before we got on screen over here, there was a loud cheer for the Chennai team. So
yeah,
very exciting that Chennai receiving the trophy.
Indeed, yes, John Lancaster for them in that bright yellow suit. He was one of our star performers and he's with the home hero Sandeep as well. So great to see them winning the trophy on the podium for P3 too. But also at the same time, Ruhan Alva and Fabian Wolven, they had a good grid position for qualifying. They started really high up. And I want to talk about Fabian for a second. So much pressure absorbed. Is she a human or a sponge? Because she was able to keep up with John Lancaster and absorb all of it so easily.
Two of them have done a brilliant job. Ruhan and Fabian. Both of them, they've done a brilliant job. It was exciting to see a cricketer, our Lakshmipati Balaji, CSK bowler, give away the prize over there to Fabian and Ruhan.
But now, of course, the winners, Neil Jani and Akil Rabindra for Blackbirds Hyderabad at the very top step of the podium. with their respective trophies for sprint race number 2. And with that race, they received 25 points in the team's championship, which is going to be big because the second place team only gets 18. That's, what, 7 points?
Yeah, that's a big difference. So, I mean, it's similar to what F1 has been doing now.
Yeah.
And it will be interesting to see the points table. I'm sure we will get something of that. But who do you think is on the lead right now?
It has to be Blackbirds Hyderabad, right? Because Blackbirds Hyderabad has won 2 races in a row.
Yes.
They have been dominating.
Yes.
But Godspeed Kochi aren't too far behind.
Kochi has been quite consistent as well. So I think it's going to be a close table. And hopefully slowly Chennai is creeping up.
Indeed, yeah, that should be fun to watch. But we'll have the feature race coming up very, very soon. So let's take a short break, shall we? We shall be back in a little bit with the feature race, but that should come after a break. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2022 Indian Racing League, where we've just had sprint race number 2, finishing off with Akil Rabindra of Blackbirds Hyderabad taking another win for the team. He was followed by Fabian Woolven of Godspeed Kochi and John Lancaster of Chennai Turbo Riders to round up the podium in a race that was very stop-start in nature, let me be honest, because we saw one safety car, one big red flag, but regardless, Akil, Fabian and John were able to keep their cool and were able to get their positions locked in. But eventually, we saw a great comeback from Anindit Reddy, who went from P10, if I'm not mistaken, to come up to P4 to take another great result for the Blackbirds Hyderabad team. But that was for sprint race number 2. Now, in a very short period of time, we are going to have feature race coming up. And let me tell you about the feature race. It's 35 minutes long. We've got one more lap after that 35 minutes. And the best part, Gaurav, we have 2 drivers sharing the same car, which means They'll have different seats, they'll have different setups in a way, but they'll have to adjust, they'll have to compromise.
Yeah, so there is apparently a minimum of 3 minutes that the car has to be stationary for the entire swap to happen, because like you said, the seats are different. So these seats are made and designed for each driver. So the seat, once the driver comes out, the seat also comes out, then the new driver gets in, and they have that minimum 3 minutes that they have to be stationary.
Exactly, that's for safety's sake, so that all the drivers are able to get all their safety harnesses properly done in. But the pit window opens at the 12th minute of the race, and the pit-in window, so you can pit inside the pit lane before the 22nd minute elapses. So if you pit in, let's say, at 21 minutes 55 seconds, good, clear. You can be in the pit lane and leave after that, but you can't pit in after the 22nd minute. So all the drivers have to be careful about that. And here's something that they have to practice, right? Driver swap. So they have to stop in the designated pit box, which is, I think, harder than most people think it is, right, Gaurav?
No, absolutely. It is. You have to get to the right pit box. You have to make sure you time it right. Now, there are 2 cars per team. So the teams also have to make sure both the cars don't come in the same time. So it's very important that, obviously, I'm sure their instructions have gone to each driver. And obviously, in the 2 drivers, you have one who's better than the other. So out of the 35 minutes, the driver who is second can do just a 12-minute stint, so which gives the second driver a longer stint.
Yeah, and this should be interesting to see how they manage out the dynamic. But I am particularly keen to see how Team Bangalore manages the dynamic. The Bangalore Speedsters, they've got such a young lineup. 3 Indian young drivers, Anshul Gandhi, Rishan Rajiv and Yash Aradhya. Yash, of course, last-minute substitute. But 3 of them, Gaurav, are 17. Anshul, Rishan and Bianca. So the average age is just very anything in this team.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very good to see such a young team. But I think they're missing out on a little bit of experience. Because if you see their points, Bangalore is not somewhere up. Because yesterday they had some bad problem with the car, and today as well they had a DNF. So you need, points are very valuable. Like I said, to finish first, you need to first finish.
That's true, yeah. That's been a bit of an issue, unfortunately, for Team Bangalore. But that's not been a problem for Team Blackbirds Hyderabad. They have been finishing at the very top every single time, because once you've got a lineup as good as this one, Neil Jani, Le Mans winner, Akil Rabindra, GD4 master, Anand Reddy, national champion who races Lamborghini Super Trofeos, and Lola Lowenfuss, one of the most exciting young F4 drivers. You've got a complete lineup, and they're performing so well now.
Like I told you, experience. You need some experience in each team. So it's very important, because then the rest of the team learns. Yeah. Now when you have 3 17-year-olds, it's going to be a little bit as to who does what, whether I'm doing it the right way, the wrong way. So it's having a team is very, as in the team mixture is very important.
Indeed, yeah. And what is that mixture like for the home team, the Chennai Turbo Riders? They finally got their first podium of the season in this sprint race, but they've got a good lineup as well. Lots of experience, lots of local experience, because Sandeep Kumar has just come in this team right now. He knows this circuit at the back of his hand.
So does Parth.
Yeah.
Even Parth knows it.
Yeah.
We've raced together as well in the past. So John, Parth, Sandeep and Lola. So Lola, right?
Nicole Harvada.
Nicole Harvada.
She's only 16, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, I met her full of energy and loved the way I was pronouncing the name. So, it's a nice mixture with Chennai, and again with John having his experience, he made sure that he got onto the podium.
Yeah, and we could see that really on show in that sprint race. But let's also talk about the Goa Aces. I think they've got a very good name. They've got a very good city or a state to represent, and an equally good lineup to back it up, because Soil Shah, Amir Sai are 2 of the most exciting Indian drivers on the block. Rahul Hyman, like we saw, a very exciting driver on the track, and Gabriela Yulkova. What has she not done in the world of racing?
Absolutely. She's a superstar herself, as in no 2 ways about that. The accolades that she's received and the championships and races that she's won definitely goes again to show how experience counts.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see how she translates that into the feature race with her teammate as well. But we should also talk about another young, exciting team in the form of Godspeed Kochi. It's a name that's been doing the rounds lately on social media. People love the name, so do I. But same over here, right? So many youngsters, but just one adult, Fabian Wolven, and she is proving the deal.
No, so in the entire energy in that team when I went there yesterday was brilliant. She was the team leader, and it was nice to see how she was looking at the screens on each one's timing, and then she actually asked me as to a few doubts on the far U, like I mentioned yesterday, on how to where the entry to the corner is, where the apex is, and these boys with her I think, making a good mix. And Alistair Young, as in brilliant, what a drive yesterday. He just landed in early. You kept mentioning that yesterday, and how he's actually turned around and gotten some good lap times, finished very well for the team. And like you said, Godspeed Kochi. It has a nice ring to it.
Exactly. And Alistair Young came in on Friday morning, right? Just barely got any testing in the car, got in there straight up the podium. But they've also got a great lineup with Ruhan Alva and Nikhil Bora, both showing such great pace. And it's amazing that we've got these Indian racing drivers who are consistently going abroad and also are able to keep up with the bigger names in the world of racing, like Anil Jani. So it's just a matter that if they get the right sponsorship, if they get the right occasion, we can see so much better from the likes of Ruhan and Nikhil.
No, it's very important on what Neil is also going to be saying to the rest of this motorsport world over here, saying that, guys, I went for the Indian Racing League, I saw Ruhan, I saw this driver, and these are talents that we really need to pick up, because he's very well connected with Porsche, he's been in Red Bull, and so Neil Jani is very important to actually go as an ambassador as what this event has brought out. The talent of the Indian drivers that this event has brought out is very important. Neil Jani goes and says that, hey, this driver is good. Take him for our...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And now we should also talk about some other great Indian talent in the Speed Demons Delhi team, because there we've got Akash Gowda, Shahan Ali Mohsin, two exciting drivers, paired with two very experienced foreign racers. What do you have to say about Mitch Gilbert and Celia Martin, Gaurav?
I mean, they're the best that they could have asked. So Mitch Gilbert is apparently a fun house over here on the grid, out of all the drivers. Always good for a laugh. And I noticed and I saw them discussing the pros and cons of various things, and then of course with Celia, as in she's brilliant, as in the queen of Nürburgring apparently. Yeah. So it's a good mix again for the Indian boys over here to gain the experience by the other international drivers.
And let's see how they team up together in the feature race, which should be coming rather soon. But first, folks, we have to take a quick break. We will be back with the big one. The feature race comes up next. Stay right here. Welcome back, folks. The pit lane is open for the feature race that's going to come up here at the Indian Racing League Round 2 at the Madras International Circuit. This one will feature driver swaps. This one will have two drivers sharing one car. And to talk more about it, I've got Jake Sanson here with me. Jake, we saw a crazy feature race, a crazy sprint race, I'm sorry. But I suppose we're going to get an even crazy feature race now in a very short period of time.
Well, this is where the team chemistry and tactics will really come into play. And in feature race in particular, these drivers are going to be backs to the wall, keeping themselves very much abreast of the situation. Split-second timing in the pit stops are going to be crucial. They've got 3-minute pit stop per car. That is the minimum quantity pit stop that it will, because obviously not only do they have to change driver, in most cases they will also have to change seat. So that has got to be done to a safe duration of pit stop. So the cars will be in the pits for 3 minutes. Here is the combination. Akil Rabindra, Hyderabad Blackbirds will be on pole position with Akil Rabindra to start. Over to Neil Jani later. Speed Kochi second on the grid. Speed Demons Delhi number 11. Then it is the Turbo Riders going P4. The Bangalore Speedsters fill out the third row. Then it is the Stevens Delhi number 12, although sadly it will not take the start, along with Goa Aces number 8. Then the Chennai Turbo Riders second car, the Godspeed Kochi second car. They share the fifth row of the grid. There will be no start for the number 7 Goa Aces car after the crash for Raul Hyman in the previous sprint race. But the Blackbirds Hyderabad are the bookmarks. They are at the back and the front of the starting grid. So it's going to be fascinating to see how the drivers cope. The starting drivers are the ones listed on the left side. The drivers they will hand over to are on the right side. Akil Rabindra will take the car from the start. Alistair Young will go off second position after his epic drive yesterday. There's every chance that the Godspeed Kochi driver could end up going into the lead. Here is the way that the feature race will work. It's a 35-minute race with one lap after the time has lapsed. There is a driver change in between, and there is a pit window of just 10 minutes. It will open on the 12th minute. It will finish on the 22nd minute. And, of course, there is a mandatory driver change during that pit stop. So every driver that starts the race will be handing over to their colleague, ready for the second half of the race. This is the first race of its kind in India. As obviously, we've had 2 sprint races where one set of drivers qualifies the car, the second set of driver races the car. But this is going to be an interesting challenge, as obviously Akil Rabindra has all the pressure on him at the front end of the field to give Neil Jani a car in the lead of the race. But Alistair Young proved to us yesterday that he's matched for Neil Jani. So based on what we've seen in the previous sprint race, Rabindra was hanging on by a thread to the lead. He managed to get the victory. But Alistair, you could be pushing him from the get-go, Sumail.
Indeed he could, and I wonder what Akil Rabindra is going to do right now, because he's just come in from a very physically and mentally demanding race in the sprint right now. Suddenly, just like John Lancaster, he has to go back in the car to go for another race once again. So Alistair Young, on the other hand, will be fresh. He'll be well hydrated. He'll be completely relaxed. He has the chance to go up ahead and take Godspeed Kochi's first race win of the season. But for Akil, can he make it 3 in a row? That will be interesting. But yeah, they've got so many other drivers like Bianca Bustamante who are also going to take the start immediately after doing the sprint. That is going to be very, very interesting. Same with Fabian Woolven, same with Anindit Reddy. Jake, I wonder, will they not get drained out after a point?
Well, it's going to be an interesting one, isn't it? There are 2 cars we've already mentioned that are not going to be taking the start of this feature race. Martin unfortunately dropped one wheel over the grass in middle of turn 7 and spat the car into the wall on the restart. I'm afraid her race, as well as Gilbert's, is not going to happen as their car has suffered too much damage. Sadly, it's the same fate that has befallen number 7 Goa Aces team car, Raul Hyman's accident in race 2. Unfortunately, ending up damaging the car to that neither he or Gabriele Yilkuba will get their chance to take the start. But for the likes of Neil Jani and Nikhil Bora on sidelines, this is where their chance of a race win is really starting to grow.
Indeed, yes. But now first, we've got Sukhmani right there on the grid with one of the drivers. Who is she talking to? What are they talking about? Let's find out.
All right, and finally we're here at the final race of the weekend of round 2 of the Indian League, and we're at the Madras International Circuit right now. Well, in the previous race we saw so many twists and turns. It was super exciting, super aggressive. We didn't see one, but we saw 2 breaks. One happened because of a flip and a red flag. Well, I can't wait to see what's in store in this race. Are we going to see Hyderabad dominating and taking over the superiority once again? Well, the clock is ticking. This is going to be the final race coming right ahead very soon. Everyone's already at the grid. The positions have been taken. The countdown has begun. Let's see what's going to happen this time. I'm very excited. Are you? All right, let's hope, keep our fingers crossed that we have nothing happening this time and everything goes safe and smooth, unlike the previous one that we have. Here's a feature race starting very soon. Back to the com.
Wow. I saw something very interesting over there, Jake. I saw Shahan Ali Mohsin in the Speed Demons Delhi in number 11 car on the grid, and he apparently retired from the last sprint race. So clearly something's gone right. They've fixed that car. He's going to be back, and he is such an exciting driver. He's won so much. He's reigning national champion here in India, so he knows the circuit inside out. But what do you reckon he can do from P3 on the grid?
They could be the dark horse for the victory. You've got to remember that his teammate is Akash Gowda, who is no slouch himself. He's the first driver from India ever to win an F4 race. And at 24 years of age, he's got plenty of experience behind him now. So there's every chance that we could see a bit of a surge forward from the Speed Demons Delhi number 11 team. Don't count them out at all. They've got every chance. And it's going to be about the consistency of the two drivers in those cars that make the real play. Speaking of consistency, this one is going to be an interesting one to predict. Joe Lancaster is going to start the race in the number 6 Chennai Turbo Riders car, and then we'll eventually hand the car over to Sandeep Kumar. Going to be fascinating to see how they play this out. The other thing that's worth bearing in mind as well here, actually, Sunil, is that because we've got that 10-minute stop window and the pit stops will last a minimum of 3 minutes, some drivers will be coming in early and other drivers will leave it to the last possible minute as possible. And that's due to the strategy of when to put your star driver in the car. So you may see the likes of John Lancaster, for example, and maybe Fabian Volvend in the car for slightly longer than their team counterpart. Going in as early as possible for the pit stop, and then handing the car over to Neil Jani. Could be very interesting to see tactically when the drivers are going to make their final changes in strategy. Obviously, they've got that 10-minute window. It's on the 12th minute the pit stop opens, the pit window opens, and then in the 22nd minute it closes. So we've really got about, I would say, a spread of 4 laps roughly when drivers are going to be making pit stops, because those pit stops are going to be 3 minutes minimum in duration. They have to be a mandatory 3 minutes, because not only are they changing driver, they're also changing seat. And you have to take into consideration the fact that when you're changing essentially an element or structure of the car, the seat has to be put in position correctly. It has to be done with the correct safety adjustments. You can't rush that procedure. You have to do it to a certain degree. That's why the teams have been given 3 minutes to make sure that happens, because the last thing you want, especially when you're changing a seat in a car, is if you're rushing it against the clock, there's every chance. We've seen pit stops go wrong in motorsport in the past. A wheel nut cannot be put on properly. In the case of refueling in the sport, you can have fuel spillage. The last thing you want is a seat to not be in the car correctly because you're rushing it. So that's why they've given that 3 minute minimum stop time. So it's obviously for the benefit of the safety of the drivers as well. But it is going to be tough to know who's going to pit first. If I was the Hyderabad Blackbirds, the temptation to bring in Akil Rabindra on the 12th minute and put 24-hour Le Mans winning superstar Neil Jani in the car as early as possible is absolutely gargantuan, especially considering that Akil Rabindra has already had 20 minutes in the car today. So you kind of want to give him a bit of a breather and give Neil Jani the keys to the castle.
I'd agree, actually, because it's 20 minutes in proper humid Chennai weather. It is extremely humid here. There's no sunlight, so you don't feel burnt out immediately. But all the drivers have been saying that when you get out of the car, this car will just absolutely drain the life out of you along with the weather. So I'd be thinking that all the drivers who have done the sprint race just a few minutes ago should be coming in rather early. But I don't think it's because of a lack of a talent, right? Because Akil Rabindra has shown that he can sustain all the pressure. But his job will be very hard now, Jake, because right behind him is Alistair Young, who sure does not have the same amount of experience in this Wolf GB08 Thunder, but he's shown that he can hold on and he can show some great pace. So I'm intrigued. Blackbird's Hyderabad versus Godspeed Kochi. We've seen this battle twice already in the Indian Racing League, but now you've got Shahan Ali Mohsin back in the Speed Demons Delhi car. You called him your dark horse. I think he is one of the favorites to win this one because the kind of raw pace he's been showing has been great. If he can stay away from the trouble, which unfortunately didn't quite happen in the first race, I really think Shahan has got it in him to maybe spring up a surprise and perhaps get P2 or maybe even P1. But it's not just his race. He also needs his teammate to perform extremely well, and that is the dynamic of a feature race. So much of it is out of your control.
Well, it's fascinating because we've got the Hyderabad Blackbirds and we've got the Godspeed Kochi teams up front and the back, because they've got two cars obviously each, but the sister car are on the back row of the grid as well as the cars on the front row of the grid. So you've got those two cars are going to be storming their way back. If what we saw in the sprint race earlier is going to be any indication, Van Volvend and Anand Reddy are not going to be at the back of the field long. They're going to be trying to charge their way through past Parth Gopada and Amir Saeed. So that's going to be an interesting start from those two. We need to keep an eye on the battle between Shahan Ali Mohsin and Bianca Bustamante, because they had a bit of an interesting squabble in the earlier sprint race. John Lancaster will want to put the Chennai Turbo riders on the feature race podium. There are so many variables coming into this one. The Bangalore Speedsters have, of course, their second car as well, Yasharaja, starting the race, and he'll hand over to the superstar 17-year-old Anshul Gandhi when it comes to the pit stop. So there is so much unpredictability coming into this race. You don't really know who is going to have the best of it, and that's what makes it such a challenge. Lights out, so we're coming to the start.
Wow, I'm literally getting goosebumps. We've seen 2 sprint races already in the Indian Racing League. It's been so many years since we've needed a league like this one. A league where young Indian drivers can share the stage with so many foreign stars and match up with them, like keep up with them, really compete hard and fight for wins. That is the stage that we're getting to see at last, so we should firstly be very, very grateful for that, and secondly be super pumped up about what we are going to see, because the competition is real. Blackbird's Hyderabad might have been winning all the races so far, but they've not been winning it with ease, so I'm keen to see what happens. Can Alistair Young get a great jump and maybe lead into turn 1? Can Shahan maybe get both the cars, or maybe John Lancaster repeat what he did in the sprint race and instead of going from 9th to 3rd, maybe go from 4th to P1? All of this can happen, Jake, and this is just making me pump up. My feet are tapping consistently. I just can't stop. Wow, this is going to be some start and some first feature race for the Indian Racing League.
You're about to witness the first ever Indian Racing League feature race of 2022. James Sanson and Samila Roy here in the commentary on Star Sport 2 with Sukhmana Sadana and Zexis Vadia in the pit lane. The safety car is coming in, and it is time to go rock and rolling for the first time in the feature race and the third race of the weekend. All of the build-up leading up to this has been worth the wait. It is now time to go racing on the Madras International Circuit for the third and final time this weekend. We're racing up to the first corner. Good start from Akil Rabindra. A brilliant start too from Shahan Ali Mohsin. He's trying to get into second place nice and early. Little contact, a little bodywork fly in the air and run wide. That is a big moment from Alistair, trying to go round the outside of Akil Rabindra to try and take the lead. Godspeed. Oh, and he's gone off into the side of John Lancaster in the Chennai Turbo Riders car. Young and Lancaster collide. There was nowhere for either driver to go. Young is trying to get back on the circuit. Lancaster pitched around in a spin. What a shame that it's all come together on first lap, and that has given Shahan Ali Mohsin and Bianca Bustamante second and third place respectfully.
Indeed, that unfortunately got very, very messy for Godspeed Kochi and Chennai Turbo Riders. Both the South Indian teams having a messy start, and for the home team, the Chennai Turbo Riders, there was so much banking on John Lancaster and his really great starting abilities, but unfortunately, it's all gone down in vain. But at the very top, somehow, someway, the Blackbirds Hyderabad always find a way to keep it clean, even though there's so much of chaos. So let's take a look at the replay. Just what really happened in there, Jake?
Oh, this is a fascinating situation. The Hyderabad Blackbirds are now leading the way, but in second place, the Bangalore Speedsters. Let's see what happened at the back of the incident. You can just about see the exit of that particular corner. A few drivers jockeying around for position. So, a real shame. You can see there that there's absolutely no going any further for the Chennai Turbo car. Safety car has been called, and that's because the rear axle of that car is completely destroyed. A real shame. Now, what's happened to Shahan Ali Mohsin? Where's he gone? Because the Speed Demons Delhi car was there in the top 3, and now the car has disappeared. So the Hyderabad Blackbirds are in the lead. Second and third, the Bangalore Speedsters. You've got Bianca Bustamante ahead of Yasharajya in second and third place. Then, that looks to be like one of the... Oh, surely that is Fabienne Volvend in fourth position. It is, you know. That's Fabienne Volvend. The Goodspeed Kochi car is from the back row of the grid and is now in fourth position. What an amazing launch. Now, here's what happened. Look, you got a little bit of skate around there from Alistair Young. He just got one wheel on the curb as Akil Rabindra tried to give him no room at all. You got one wheel on the curb, spat the car around into Lancaster in the Chennai Turbo Riders car, and it's Lancaster's stationary car that we are now under safety car orders for. That is such a shame, because John Lancaster had a real chance in this race, but we are missing the Speed Demons Deadly number 11. I don't know what happened to Shahan Ali Mohsin, but he's gone.
Yep, I saw damage. I saw some damage on his car towards the back end. I can't tell you how that happened, but yeah, I think there is some damage, so we shall get a better idea of what's going on. He seemingly has come in the pits for Speed Demons Delhi, Shahan Ali Mohsin, which means it's 2 consecutive poor races for them, but luckily they have time. This is a lengthy race, so even though you might come in for the pit lane for some changes, you can still go out there and spring a surprise throughout the length of this race. So I wonder what's happening. We shall get a better idea in a short period of time. They are changing something in the back of the car, so is it technical? Is it a crash that caused it? Because I don't see any damage marks, Jakes, but that is absurd. But for a second, right, I just want to talk about Akil Rabindra. How has he managed to stay out of the chaos again?
Well, fortunately, getting to the first corner first gives you that a little bit of an advantage. What I'm most impressed with is Bianca Bustamante, in fact, keeping herself in the hunt, despite how difficult it was for her in the sprint race earlier. Now watch, here's the lack of space Mr. Young has, and watch Bustamante. She sees it happening, gets herself out of harm's way, and dodges it all. It was very nicely handled there by the 17-year-old from Miller. She's done a great job there to stay out of harm's way. As the Young gets going again, he's made it back to the pits as well. Now, of course, you're talking about it's a long race. They've got time to rip the cars. If they can get out on this lap before the safety car comes around, then form up at the back of the queue, and it will be almost as if nothing happened. They'll drop to the back of the order, of course. But if they don't lose a lap, then they're ready to effectively restart from the tail end of the field. Because Alistair Young and Shahan Ali Mohsin, as long as they've got cars that are working, they get out before the safety car comes through past the pits, then they'll stay on the leading lap, and that gives them a chance of staying in the race. If they go a lap down, the chances of victory are almost impossible.
Yeah, you're so right about that, and it's just uncharacteristic, right? That little error from Alistair Young getting on the grass. Maybe should have lifted off the throttle, but ifs, buts, maybes. It's so hard to tell, right? When you're in that moment, in that pressure situation of the start, sometimes things like this can happen, and John Lancaster will know that, right? Because he was not at fault. He just saw a car coming into him, and he got T-boned eventually. So it's not really his fault, and he'll also kind of recognize that, yes, Alistair lost control at the tough spot over there. So I think they will understand from all the experience that they've had in the world of racing, but it will still sting that hard because everyone wants to win this one so badly, Jake. Throughout the paddock, there's only been one chatter. How can we nail the feature race? How can we get 50 points for winning this one? This is the big one, and right now it seems like there could be a big chance for both the Bangalore Royals, Bianca Bustamante and Yashar out there. And wow, dejected Alistair Young.
Oh, it's game over. Do you know what I was about to say, Simil, that the tension down at Godspeed Kochi is going to be akin to Tararumpum, Saif Ali Khan, where they're stressing to try and get back out onto the circuit again with a race against time before the safety car came through. But it looks as though there's so much damage to that car that there's absolutely no way back for them. What a shame. So Alistair Young and Nikhil Bora will not even get to finish this race. Very sad indeed for them.
Yeah, and I was very excited to see how this pairing works out because Alice and Nikhil, both extremely young, both with bags of pace, both of them, in fact, have done tons of Formula 4 racing, and I just wanted to see how this pairing would work out. But that's a shame, right? Sometimes in a team race, stuff like that happens. So with Alistair crashing out, Nikhil can't race, and he'll be feeling slightly frustrated. But as a young kid, I see he's treating it really well. He's talking to Alistair saying, no problem, mate, happens to the best of us. But deep down, there will be a little bit of frustration, but it can go the other way around as well, Jake. Maybe I don't want to wish this on anyone, but maybe, say, Nikhil can make a mistake, and Alistair would also have to do that same thing that Nikhil is doing to him right now. So it's just, how do you work as a team and let's forgive somebody else's mistakes and also support them so that when you're going racing together next time, you're all in the right frame of mind and can deliver the best results. And remember, these are teenagers. You see, that maturity from them is going to be quite something. Very proud for their parents, but still hard to achieve.
Do believe they've lost a lap, but have now managed to form up at the back of the grid with everybody else. So that keeps the Speed Demon Delhi team in the race at least, albeit now a lap down. It's very unfortunate, but at least they are still going to get an opportunity to get to the finish of this race, because we still don't know what's going to happen to the 7 cars in front of them. We don't know if they're going to have more problems, but so far we have lost 1 car from 4 of the teams out there. Godspeed Kochi, the team from Speed Demons Delhi, team from Goa Ace, and from Chennai Turbo Riders.
Yeah, that's true. And in all this chaos, I suppose we missed something very, very important, Jake. Anindit Reddy has gone from P12 to P5 again. Just how does he do it all this while? I mean, we saw him have such a great comeback in the sprint race, and suddenly he's done the exact copy in the feature as well, within a matter of 3 to 4 minutes, right? Because we just had the race starting, we got 1 or 2 laps, and then the major accident happened. So for Anindit, he should be just labelled the comeback king, because he went from P10 to P4 in the last race. Suddenly he's back in the car with only, what, a 15-20 minute buffer, and has put in another amazing start. This guy, Jake, he is just on fire this weekend, and he's the Hyderabad hero, right? He's the home hero. He's not quite in Chennai, but still he is just living up to the name of his team right now. He is properly going hard.
Well, here we go. We're back to race conditions once again. The driver's out there to put on show, and it's green. What a restart from Rabindra, completely catching out the Bangalore speedsters. So we continue on. It is going to be a fascinating charge forward from our 2 competitors, charging them down. Fabien Olven fights at the 4th position for the Godspeed Kochi team, and there is an opportunity for them to get onto the podium, and she can do it. And also there is an second of the Hyderabad Blackbird cars. He's going to hand that car over to the French lady Lola Lovitfoss a little bit later on. Here comes the opportunity for Fabien Volvend, and she's sensing an opportunity to get past Yasharada in the Bangalore Speedsters car number 4. Still backing away to try and make the overtaking move happen. They go through on the far side, and it's looking pretty tasty between Bangalore Speedsters and Godspeed Kochi.
Indeed, yeah, and now Yash Radhya has a big opportunity on his hands right now in P number 4. He's being pushed hard to the limit by Fabien Wolven in that blue Kochi car, but Yash is one of the best in India. He knows how to sustain that pressure. In fact, he's just gone out there and done F4 UAE as well, so he's raced at the international level. He knows what it's like to share the stage with drivers like Fabien. Can he hold on? Can the super sub maybe make it a podium, or perhaps even just save Bianca up ahead from all the pressure behind? Because now, behind him, we've got a big train, and Bianca Bustamante in that number 3 car is just getting some breathing space. So essentially, Yash Radhya is doing a great team job for Bianca up ahead.
Yes, his brilliant tactics. Clearly they want to have at least 1 car on the podium, and you know that with Bianca Bustamante there in 6th position, she gets a bit of protection from Yasharajia in the sister car and keep Fabien Volvend at bay. There have been very close battles between Bustamante and Volvend in the W Series this year. So now Yasharajia playing the team game, trying to hold their line. Uncle Gandhi will obviously to try and make up some of the time that Yashara is conceding a little later, but that's not the priority right now. The priority at the moment is trying to keep that car in front of the Godspeed Kochi number 1. There is an Indit in the 2nd of the Hyderabad Blackbirds cars trying to come through into 4th position. That's exact position they wanted to put them in, as now the Godspeed Kochi number 1 has been held up. Bangalore Speedster number 4. Yacharajia doing a great job to hold on to this 4th position for the moment, but an Indy ready trying to get through there into position in Kochi versus Hyderabad as they run together there. And there's not a lot that Fabien Volvend can do at the moment, and Indy is all over the back of her, but she is holding on to 4th position at the moment. Watch the guy behind as well, Amir Saeed in the number 8 for the Goa Ace. He's not far away from this challenge either.
That is very true, and very soon we could see some drivers being changed. The pit window is about to open very, very shortly, and potentially the likes of Akil Rabindra could be coming in the pit rather soon. So I wonder, right, which teams will bite the bullet? Who will come in and change their drivers right now? Because that is another tactical element that we must keep an eye on. Let's wait and see, because the pressure is on for so many of them. Akil has stayed on. Now, the gap between him and Bianca Bustamante is 2 seconds. But critically, as you can see, in the number 3 Bangalore car, Bianca has a second's gap to her teammate, and then Yash is holding off all the others behind. So it's great teamwork for Bangalore. Let's wait and see how it goes.
You're absolutely right. The pit lane window is now open, and it will stay open for the next 10 minutes. So now is the time for drivers to make their changes. Rabindra has got a decent lead, and that's unlapping himself. That is the 11 of Shahan Ali Mohsin. He's actually unlapping himself now. Oh no, wait, no, that is for position. They did actually manage to get out on the lead lap. So into the pits has come an Reddy. Now there's some confusion, because an Reddy came into the pits thinking that the pit window was open. I don't think it was open when he pitted. I'm not sure if it's open yet. So there's a little bit of confusion. They had to change drivers anyway because they have to, but I think he pitted in a couple of seconds early. There's some frustration from an Reddy. I think he's pitted in just fractionally too early. As an Reddy gets out, Lulunfoss is going to get in. But he looked devastated in Reddy. He hasn't had an incident on the circuit. I think he's pitted 1 lap too early.
Oh, come on. That can't happen. They were having such a good race. Anindit was just clocking in some brilliant lap times. I frankly expected him to go slightly longer, because he has more of an experience of this circuit than Lola, who's just come in very recently. But I don't know if that is the case. That is devastating for Blackbird's Hyderabad, because they were on for a big points finish. But hey, they've got to put the past aside. A penalty could be coming. Sure, whatever. We'll focus on that later. The job is now on young Lola to get it sealed in. She is one of the faster racing drivers around here. She's got ton of Formula 4 experience. For her, she's got to get in there and forget everything that happens. Go hard, go fast, because this one counts for Blackbirds.
Well, Rabindra is now putting in some fast times. He's done a 1:32.7 to pull well clear of the Bangalore Speedsters cars. He wants as big gap as possible before that pit starts. Into the pits comes Shahan Ali Mohsin. So that's to be a driver change for the Speed Demons Delhi team. He'll hand the car over to Akash Gowda. So out of the car, and this is the, well, guessing, first on pit stop. They're getting his seat ready for Akash Gowda. So obviously Shahan Ali Mohsin gets his seat out of the car. They obviously have different seats because these seats are molded to fit the drivers. So they obviously carry their own seats in and out with them. So that seat comes out, Akash Gowda goes in, and the Speed Demons number 11 is going to have a drive change. Now also into the pits comes Fabienne Volvend, so she's out, and the 16-year-old Ruhan Alba, who represented India in the FIA Motorsport Games last month for Paul Ricard in the F4 category, now gets to Godspeed coach number 1. And he was absolutely mighty yesterday. He charged his way through to 4th position. Watch Ruhan Alba on the return, because he is going to be like a lightning bolt.
Indeed, yeah. And Ruhan Alba was selected for the Ferrari Driver Academy trials as well. Even they recognize how good of a driver he is. So watch out for him, and watch out for Akash Gowda as well, because as you mentioned correctly, Jake, early on, Akash is one of the drivers to compete at the Asian F3 level, and he's won an Asian F4 race as well. So Akash knows what he's doing, and that Speed Demons Delhi lineup seems to be a pretty good one. So what happens now? The drivers are in. They have this 3-minute period, as you mentioned early on, where they have to change the car and get the seat ready. But they cannot get assistance from the other driver. Only one mechanic has to help out, and the driver who gets out can only take their seat out. Nothing else. They can't have the driver getting in, adjust their seat or anything like that. Okay, a high five might work, but nothing else. They've got to really take the seat, run away like Bianca is going to do right now. So Drishan Rajiv is going to come in, and I want to talk about him, Jay, because yesterday we saw him put that amazing qualifying lap, which was just a 10th.5 behind Neil Jani, and then he had a tough race in Sprint 1. Finally, he's back in the car, but in tricky circumstances, because he doesn't have any warm-up lap, no formation lap, nothing. Straight out there, and he has to go racing against the best of the best.
Yep, so Amir Said is get out of the car and hands over to Sohail Shah, and Bustamante out of the car to hand over to Rishan Rajiv. So, fascinating challenge. Akil Rabindra, meanwhile, is staying in the car and just stretching out the gap. He's clearly taken some cue from Neil Jani and said, no, if you can go, if you've got the energy, just go a bit further, build up the gap. We've got a decent gap, then just extend it as much as you can. And then once you got to the end of the limit, then maybe we can go racing. From Neil Jani's view, he doesn't have to be in the car that long. So he can just watch as Akil Rabindra switches it up. And you can see there Rabindra, he's being tired. A little bit of a twitch there as he came through turn 2. That's the balancing act you've got to blend. You've got to blend the pushing of the car, trying to get it out far as everybody else out on the circuit. You've got to try and extend the gap. But you've also got to look at fatigue. He's only done one race today, the sprint race, which was pretty tense for him. And now here he is, still trying to lap and pull the gap out. The gap's up to 13.5 seconds between himself and the Bangalore Speedster car that is in second place, driven by Yasharaj. And this because Yasharaj hasn't pitted yet. In the pits comes the remaining Chennai Turbo Rider car. That's Parth Kapada. And he's going to hand that car over to the Canadian driver, Nicole Haverda, who is just 16 years of age. She's one of the youngest drivers in the field. So Nicole Haverda will get into that car very soon indeed. Now we're going to get Parth Kapada out of the car, and Nicole Haverda is going to get in. You can see that that's Nicole with the Canadian flag. The maple leaf is on the side of her racing helmet. Akil Rabindra has just done a 1:31.9. He's really lighting up circuit here to try and extend. This is great work from the Hyderabad Blackbird up front.
I love this because when every single driver is coming in the pit lane and changing drivers, Akil is using the advantage of the free air. Literally, there's nobody on the circuit barring him and a couple of other cars that are way, way far out. So Akil has one lap over everybody else and also lots of free air. So he's setting in lap times that are faster than anyone on the track or anyone has done throughout this race. Akil is just coming into the zone now, and then he will go on the pit lane to change the car with Neil Jani. So that lineup looks incredibly well. So I don't know, this overcut strategy that they're playing now might just end up working brilliantly for them.
Now, this for second position, of course. This is the Bangalore Speedster that was in second place and came in. Yasharya is going to hand the car over to the 17-year-old F4 driver, Anshul Gandhi. Now, this is quite an important one because I thought I saw Bianca Bustamante losing a little bit of time coming in the pit lane after the pit stop, on the way to the pits, because Amir Saeed was a lot closer to her than perhaps he should have been. So I wonder if she lost time coming into the pit road. So this car could actually emerge from the pits in second position. It's worth keeping that in mind because they might well have made up enough time to do so. But the car to watch for now is the number 10, London Fost. She's back out onto the circuit. She's the first one to get back out on the circuit. I'm not sure whether they're going to get a penalty for coming in a little bit early or not. We still have to consider that particular end of the race, because it looked to me, though, an end ready were bitterly frustrated getting out of the car. As there's Nicole Haverda just looking at what they're doing there, of course, is it's the other thing we need to talk about a little bit, Samir. They've not only changed seats getting in, but they also have to change the positions of the wing mirrors, because the drivers will be in different positions in the car based on the dimensions and the measurements of the seats. They've got to change the wing mirrors so that the drivers can actually see where they're going and where they've been around the circuit. In the pits finally comes Akil Rabindra, the race leader, with a gap of 16.6 when he came in prior to the pit stop, the Bangalore Speedster number 4. And there is the number 2016 Neil Jani standing by to take over.
Indeed, yeah. Now you'll see some slight adjustments potentially to the mirror, as you mentioned, Jake, but it'll only be very minor because most of the teams have decided the driver lineup on the basis of the heights of their respective drivers. So Neil Jani, Akil Rabindra, both very similar in heights. That's why they all go in. In case of Speed Team Delhi, Akash Gowda, Shahanali Mohsin, both very similar in terms of height. That's why they're all a pair. So they've kept that in mind while deciding the pair. So that just helps out with the whole process. You don't have to make dramatic changes when the driver gets in. But I'm wondering, right, once you've got the seat adjusted, normally most teams are budgeting out some 40 seconds in the car for the driver once the swap is done. What goes through your head in those 30-40 seconds? Because you can see all the cars going past, you can hear all the cars going past, but you can't leave until the clock strikes 180 seconds. So in that meantime, there are so many thoughts that can be running in your head. You can be thinking, oh well, am I going to do well? Am I not going to do well? Are the tires at the speed? Are the brakes ready? Are the brakes in the right temperature? So many things to wonder. I hope they can keep their cool, because when the thoughts go wild, the driver cannot race as fast as they possibly would want to. And so that, Jake, is a big mental challenge, if anything.
It really is. You have to just put it into the back of your mind and remind yourself that everybody's in the same boat, that everybody sat there in the pits for 3 minutes. But yeah, as a racing driver, your adrenaline's pumping. You want to get out on the circuit and go wheel to wheel and stretch out the gap. It can be bitterly frustrating when you sat there for 3 minutes total waiting to get back out of the circuit again. Neil Jani, the headrest is going back on the car. I was interested to have a look at these Demons Delhi car 11 currently being driven by Cash Gowda now. He was shaking his head as he went past the finish grade, so something's not well at Speed Demons Delhi. I'm not sure whether they feel they've lost too much time, whether they feel that something is not quite right with the car, whatever it might be. But Cash Gowda certainly not feeling particularly happy with something. I think it's because they have obviously lost that lap, and now they can't get onto the same race leading lap. Now, you'll see there that the mechanic is also allowed to check tyre pressures. So obviously they have data from the first part of the race. They're not changing tyres, but they are allowed to check tyre pressures and make sure that they're correct. They can adjust the tyre pressures in the pit stop if they want to as well. But that's about it. You can't really make any major changes. There's no refueling, tyre changes. You run on the same tyres all the way to the end of the race. But it's been Neil Jani gets out in the lead of the race, barring any major disasters for the Hyderabad Blackbirds. There is the pit board, the driver went to go. As soon as that is raised, then Neil Jani put his foot down and get out onto the circuit, and he should have a decent amount of time. Now, what's interesting is Ruhan Alva has shot up into third position. He has managed to overtake the number 3 Bangalore Speedster car, as has the number 10 Hyderabad Blackbird car. So they've lost a lot of time. Sean Radhiva's reaching in what is going to be 5th position. The question is going to be, is the Godspeed Bocce car number 1 going to resume in 2nd position or 3rd position? I couldn't quite tell when Anshul Gandhi got out onto the circuit, but there's Neil Jani getting back into the race. I'm fairly sure he has emerged, still leading, and I don't think you're going to see him again today if you are Ruhan Alva, who is in 2nd place.
Indeed, and Ruhan Alva has been setting in some great sectors. I remember one lap ago he had the fastest sector 1, but right behind him, Lola Lovinforth is setting some faster sectors as well. She was quickest in sector 3, and that is brilliant. Because now we're seeing 2 youngsters, both of them around 17 years old, both of them pushing the car to the absolute limit, and they're driving it faster than the drivers before them. And they are drivers who have raced internationally, won championships. So I am amazed both Indian and foreign young drivers are able to push so hard and get the best out of their car. But can they take the challenge to this man right here? The proper legend, Neil Jani, Le Mans 24-hour winner. He's done it. He's also won the Daytona 24 hours. You name any major endurance racing event, Neil has gone there and Neil has excelled. So here's Neil with a chip on his back. Can the others get there? Can the others close up? Can Ruhan and Lola work together maybe as well? Because now if they fight against each other, they just end up losing time. Maybe they realize the bigger picture, work together and get closer to Neil, because in many other racing championships, that has happened, where you look at the bigger picture and like, okay, sure, maybe we can go for P1, let's work together until then, and then we'll see what happens. But I'm very excited. Ruhan Alva, Lola Lovinforth and Rishon Rajiv, P2, 3, 4, there I think is the big ticket to watch for.
Sohail Shah has just set the fastest lap of the race, so 1:31.6 for the Goa races number 8. Sohail Shah trying to close up on Rishon Rajiv in the Bangalore Speedsters car. So that's particularly worth keeping an eye on. Ruhan Alva is only 5.4 seconds back from Neil Jani, so that big gap that they had is nothing compared to what it was. Ruhan Alva has been pushing very hard indeed in 2nd place and has managed to eat into about 8 seconds of the gap that was built up. So Ruhan Alva has been the real star of this early part of the stint, trying to get back on terms with Neil Jani. Jani now needs to really find some speed. Lola Lovinforth has done a fantastic job. 3rd position for her in the Hyderabad Blackbird number 10 to get into 3rd position now. And this man is the fastest man on track. Shah has banged in the fastest for the race of 1:31.6. I should point out, though, that Neil Jani is now starting to get to that sort of pace as well. It isn't going to be too long before Neil Jani is going to be matching. And we've got 10 minutes left of the race. Everybody's now done their mandatory pit stop. I do believe that Anshul Gandhi has come back to the pits again. He's down in 6th position. Not entirely sure what's happening there, but this is Bianca Bustamante. Sorry, no, this is not. It's Rishon Rajiv who's now got it to the Bangalore Speedsters 3. Rishon Rajiv versus Lola Lovinforth. Now this is going to be a real test of Lola Lovinforth's mettle here, because the 17-year-old French girl is going to be pushing very hard indeed here to get away from Rishon Rajiv. This is a 17-year-old dogfight. These two drivers are battling away. It's not going to be easy for Lola Lovinfoss to hold on to this. But Rishon Rajiv, who is the same age as Lola Lovinfoss, is to be working his magic. As into the pits again comes Akash Gowda for Speed Demons Delhi. And I'm afraid that looks to me like game over for the squad. That's a sheep. Yep, they've given the kill signal. And I'm afraid that is the end of the weekend for Speed Demons Delhi.
Tough luck with reliability again, but let's focus on that later. Let's now talk about this big battle that we've got. It's Rishon Rajiv and Lola Lovinfoss. This is going to be fun. It is Bangalore in the red car, Hyderabad in the green. Wow, what a slide. He's kept it alive, Jake, but he's lost the position. I mean, he's lost the chance, and Rishon's in the middle of the track.
No, he's lost it. Yeah, he lost it. He just went... He went a little bit wide, went onto the marbles. That's the problem. He went onto the marbles. And once you get the car there, it's a bit like driving on an ice rink. He manages to recover it without losing positions, I don't think. Shah is still another 10 seconds off the road. Let's see how it happened. He's just got a little bit wide. And the problem is, as you mentioned earlier, Samil, it's been raining on and off this weekend. He got onto the mud. You can't stay from there. This is how he lost it. Look, he just gets a little tight to the apex of the radius. Then just drops the back end. It's on the grass. That's it. You're in a mud bath after that point.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's a clear example of just emotions getting the better, because Rishon could see Lola right in front. He wanted that position desperately, but it will come. The important part is not to lose focus, because they still have time, right? Rishon might have made that major mistake and gone, what, 20-odd seconds behind, but things can change. I don't want to put anything on Lola right now, but she could make a similar mistake too. So Rishon needs to be on the toes. He needs to make sure that if something happens up ahead, he is ready to get that position. But that's a tough one for Rishon. A really hard mistake to make. But he knows he's got the pace. At this point, he needs to be telling himself, calm down, buddy. Relax. If I'm at my best, if I'm at my calmest, I can be very, very quick. So, tough mistake, but it's only one that he'll learn from eventually.
Absolutely right, and that's going to be a real headache for Rishon Rajiv in terms of mentality as well, because he's obviously got to try and recover, regroup, and get himself back to speed. What that's also going to do is be a massive confidence injection for Lola Lovinfoss, because she's going to be looking at the mirrors and suddenly go, oh, he's not there anymore. Well, I didn't trip it, he did. So hang on, I think Rishon Rajiv is actually another problem developing, because he looks like he's actually struggling to stay on pace. Sohail Shah has managed to get through into 4th position. And I wonder if Rishon Rajiv, maybe there's a problem brewing for the second Bangalore Speedsters car. Meanwhile, we keep an eye on Ruhan Alva. This man has been absolutely amazing in this one. Getting straight into that car, has got to be on the pace, has been given the chance to deliver. And he's still within about half a dozen seconds of a 24-hour Le Mans winner. Can we just put that out there? Ruhan Alva has not only gained the time lost initially in the first stint to the Hyderabad Blackbirds team, but he is there in second place, and he's still only 6 back from the early. He's only 16 years of age. Ruhan Alva is turning into a bit of a megastar here.
And you can see how hard he's pushing, Jake. He's on the grass all the time. Ruhan, legally, he can't drive a car on the road, but he can push this one so hard that he's just hitting all the apexes, getting to the wide exit of all the corners. He's putting track limits to his absolute use. And he's just pushing it right now. But still, it is quite a challenge, because while Ruhan is doing such a great job, Jani saying, okay, Ruhan, I see you've turned up the pace. Let me respond as well. And Jani has gone even faster. So this is going to be a challenge. And in the meantime, while Ruhan is pushing his car to the limit, there's also another Indian youngster, Sohail Shah in P4, who now wants the one position that Rishon Rajiv couldn't get. P3 from Lola Lovinfoss. He has become the first driver to dip into the 131.5s. Sohail Shah, that Go Aces car, is flying. But there are so many Indian youngsters that are excelling. This is great to watch from a future perspective as well.
He's actually going quicker than Neil Jani in the lead of this race, who is the 2016 World Endurance Champion and Le Mans 24 Hours winner. For the last decade, Indian motorsport petrolhead fans have been asking who's going to be the next Indian into Formula One. We've got two guys on this grid who are adamant it's going to be them, Ruhan Alva and Sohail Shah, putting in an incredible drive here to showcase their skills. And look, Sohail Shah can see up in front of him. That's Lola Lovinfoss. That's the podium. I can put the Go Races car on the rostrum if I keep pushing this. through turn one. He's absolutely bouncing around. Look at the back of the car as it travels there through turn one. You go through there so quick that the back end of the car starts bouncing around like a washing machine, and you are desperately trying to hold on to it as you come through. It is really tricky to hold on to the car when it's at limit of adhesion, and fair play to Sohail Shah. Not only is he handling it, he's the fastest driver out there.
That is very true. And now it's a test of character for Ruhan Alva, Lola Levenforst and Sohail Shah, all three youngsters, because you know what you're going to expect from Neil Jani. He will be calm, he will be cool, he will consistently set in lap times, because that's what he's been doing for the last 20-odd years, even before most of these drivers were alive. But for Ruhan, for Lola and for Sohail, can they go as fast but still maintain the consistency? Because it makes no sense if you go, let's say, on the fastest lap of the race and eventually bottle it after that. So for them, it's a matter of composure, a matter of consistency. Sohail clearly has got it in his bag right now, but I want to see that from Lola too. Can she hold on to P3? Because so far, she's done a tremendous job to absorb all the pressure. But I suppose the pressure will only build up in the next couple of minutes as the race nears its end.
At this point, there's only minutes plus the additional bonus lap to finish the race battle. Ruhan Alva giving it everything he's got in the hope that he can hold on to second position. He's had a bit of a sloppy lap last time round, so he's lost a few seconds there, down to 9.5 seconds back. But Lola Levenforst is consistently in the 134.6s. So Shah is in the 132.2s. So he's going 2 seconds a lap quicker than Lola Levenforst at the moment. This is all about Sohail Shah. Has he got composure? He's clearly got the speed, but has he got the focus and the commitment? Go for that third position, hang on to it, and steal the podium away from the French driver in third position. Lola Levenforst running there in third, but Sohail Shah, the 21-year-old, is going very hard indeed, try and get that gap down in the hope that he can put the Go Aces on the podium. That would be quite special. You consider that in the 3 races, we're going to have a Hyderabad Blackbird's car on the top. We're going to have a Godspeed Kochi in second, and with 3 different teams on the roster in third position behind them. Because race 1, we had Celia Martin and Mitch Gilbert after his brilliant drive for Speed Demons Delhi. They got the podium in race 1. Then obviously you saw the Chennai Turbo riders come up with a podium for John Lancaster and Sandeep Kumar in second. Sadly, Sandeep Kumar didn't get his chance behind the wheel. But now it looks as though if Sohail Shah keeps going and if he keeps pushing Levenforst, he might just be able to get them on the podium here for the Go Aces, because gap has come down again. 135.0 for Lola Levenforst, a 131.6 for Sohail Shah. That's quicker than Neil Jani is going.
Wow, Sohail, wow, what are you doing, mate? And they need it. Goa Aces need it desperately. So far this weekend, they've had a terrible one. They've had reliability issues, they've had major crashes. A podium to end the weekend for the Goa team is exactly what they need, and now Sohail can see it.
There she is. There she is. That's how close it is. That's how close it is now. So Sohail Shah knows that he is going to put Lola Levenforst under pressure. He's got speed. He's in the position now. Sohail Shah reeling on these last couple of laps to try and close up on the Hyderabad Blackbird's car in third position. Number 10, driven by Lola Levenforst. The 70-year-old from Rouen is being hunted down by Sohail Shah, 21-year-old, who has been in F4 in various capacities in Southeast Asia and the United Arab Emirates since 2019. He's got good speed and good candor at the moment, but can he put the pressure on Lola Levenforst to come through?
But Jake, the important part is time. Time's run out. We're only going to get one more lap at the end of this. So suddenly, it's like a Gran Turismo challenge mode. You've got one lap, one car pass. You know you're faster, but can you keep it clean? And Goa Aces need to keep it clean. For Lola Levenforst right now in the Hyderabad Blackbird's car, she may or may not have a penalty because of their early pit lane entry issue. So I wonder what Sohail is going to do. Does Sohail know that they could have a penalty? Is it going to change the way he drives? Because surely if that penalty is coming, Sohail doesn't need to pass Lola on the track. But as a racing driver, your animal instincts kick in and you want to get it done on the circuit. One more lap to go. P2 on the line. P3 on the line, I'm sorry. This is going to be mega, Jake.
All Lovenfoss has to do is keep her car wide enough through the apex, is that there's no way through, and Sokar is definitely focusing his attention on the inside, but Lovenfoss is placing her car exactly where she needs to. She's keeping it wide as necessary to keep Sokar from diving on the inside, and that's what you've got to do. You've got to put your car in the middle of the road. You can't give Sokar the chance to go left, you can't give him the chance to go right. She's doing exactly what she needs to do. Look, she moves the car to the middle. Char's trying to commit to the inside line. They both lock up. They touched, and Char is going to go sideways. Lovenfoss has gone on the grass. Now, who's going to get the pieces of that? Ruhan Alva there in second position for the Godspeed Koch team. Still hanging on to second place here, but who came through in third? I didn't see who managed to get that. We need to go back in it and see who come through in third position, but Lovenfoss and Char have ended up connecting. Lovenfoss getting Char no room at all. And that's Lovenfoss. She stopped. The car has come to a stop. Lovenfoss, the podium's gone. Checkered flag. Neil Jani gives the Hyderabad Blackbirds 3 wins in a row. Brilliant work from the number 9 Hyderabad Blackbird team. That is what they wanted. Ruhan Alva is going to come second. That is the drive of the race for me. Excellent work from Ruhan Alva. 16 years of age, and he pulled it all back to get into second place. He's the whirlwind. Go keep an eye on him for the future. 16 years of age, and he pulled off a drive like that. So who is going to come through for third position then? Because Lola Lovenfoss stopped. I didn't see what happened to Sohail Shah. Was he able to keep going? That's the problem. Hyderabad Blackbird make it 3 out of 3.
He was, Jake, yeah, he's just crossed the line right here. Sohail Shah on the track has taken P3, but folks, this could change because the stewards have just sent in a message. They've said incident at turn 2 will be investigated after the race. So Lola Lovenfoss has stopped on track after a frankly brilliant performance, but she almost could have gotten P3 right there. Sohail on the track has finished third after a tremendous ride. He was fast. He was faster than anyone on track. So many points of time. But I wonder if that was clean enough according to the stewards. Let's wait and watch. But while we get a result on that, 2 drivers to commend. Neil Jani, Ruhan Alva. Wow, Neil with incredible consistency, dominating from start to finish, and Ruhan Alva setting the track alight. That is why Ferrari wanted him. That's why they wanted to put him in his driver academy. They know that this guy is so special, and he's got another podium for Godspeed Kochi. And Blackbirds here, they're about to keep on winning, Chick. It's 3 in a row. Hat-trick.
They've done a sensational job, an absolutely sensational job all weekend. If there is going to be an issue for the Goa race number 8 of Sohail Shah, then the podium is going to go to the Bangalore Speedster after all of that, because it's going to go to Anshul Gandhi and Yash Adya. Gandhi doing a fair job, getting himself back up there, 4th position after the musical chairs is all sorted out. But yeah, 6 cars made it to the end after a brutal race. Nicole Herder brought the Chennai Turbo Riders home in 5th position. They can be quite happy with that after everything that's happened. And Rishan Rajiv was able to finally bring the car home in 6th position for the Bangalore Speedsters. But clearly, there were problems with that car after his spin, as Galaverde was able to catch and pass him as well. And Rishan Rajiv was only about 11, 12 seconds off the pace. So it's Hyderabad Blackbirds that take the win. Godspeed Kochi second, and for the moment, Goa Racing in third. But whether that will change or not, we don't know.
We don't know about that, but there's also another interesting news story. Anandit Reddy in that Lola Lovenfoss Blackbird Hyderabad car, the number 10. Well, we've got news that Anandit pitted on time. So had that incident not happened, Lola Lovenfoss wouldn't have gotten a penalty. She could have kept third on track had they not made contact. So I don't know what the stewards are going to say, but Ruhan Alva, Fabi Bulven. Wow, what a team, what a performance.
Yeah, second place for Bulven and Alva. And I tell you what, this kid, Ruhan Alva, what a superstar in the making he is turning into. But Neil Jani doing what Neil Jani does best. Excellent performance from him. This is exactly what he came here to do, to showcase to the world why he is a F1 test driver, why he is a Le Mans 24 Hours and Daytona 24 Hours winner, why he is the World Cup of Motorsport Nations winner for Switzerland back in the day, why he's been able to drive all the amazing machinery. This boy, though, this is fantastic.
Now, we've got Sukhmani standing by with one of the drivers. Let's hear from her, shall we?
Neil Jani once again. I don't even know what to say. How many more surprises do we expect from you? Congratulations, first of all. But how calm was this for you?
Well, Akil did a great job in the beginning, gave me the car in the lead, and then I just had to manage. I was looking at the sky because if it starts raining, obviously it would have gotten interesting again.
Almost saw that coming, but fingers crossed.
Yeah, but in the end, yeah, a perfect weekend for us.
I know. Neil, you have been dominating the entire weekend. I mean, I would love to ask you if you face any challenges, though I don't see any of those, but did you?
You know, everyone has his challenges, but clearly, you know, when you have a lead, you can play a bit with the car. You can, you know, we had a bit of a gap to the rest of the field, which gave us breathing space.
All right, I'm sure you're feeling on cloud nine, but do you want to just share with us how you're feeling right now?
Obviously happy. It's my first race on Indian soil, and it's a perfect weekend. 2 poles, 3 wins. Can't get any better.
All right, congratulations once again. We hope that the luck continues for you. Thank you.
Wow, great to hear from Neil Jani, Jake. Calm, composed as ever. It feels like he hasn't even done a race, right? He's so relaxed. He's so fit. Wow.
Like, you've been performing consistently today.
Yeah, it's been simply amazing. Like, I had such a good run this morning or this afternoon in the sprint race, and now we had to start a bit far back because, yeah, we had problems yesterday with the car. But, yeah, into turn 1, turn 3, I was just amazing, going from almost last to P4, and then Ruan just brought it home. Perfect day.
And Ruhan, you had so much happening out there on the track, God, and you had to take that pit. How pressurizing is it to come out of that pit stop after 3 minutes?
Yeah, it's really crucial to get off the limit at the right time so that you're not speeding, and you have the pace out of the pits as well, so it's really crucial. And yeah, we had an issue with the car at the end, so I had to slow down quite a bit. I was worried that we weren't going to make it, but luckily, thank God, we were able to finish the race and in P2. So really happy.
That's been a good day for Godspeed Kochi. Over to the next one.
What an exciting race that was. Kept me on the edge. Congratulations, guys. What just happened there in the end, though? I'm very curious to know.
Oh yeah, it was an incredible race, and Sohail did an amazing job of chasing down and cutting down a 11-second gap to the car in front of him to make the move for the podium. And yeah, I started the race. We had a tough qualifying due to some technical issues, and we had to start in 7th place. But I did as best as I could in my stint. I made up a couple of places, and the pit stop went smoothly, and Sohail did his best, and now we ended up on the podium. It was a great race.
Okay, so how do you feel? Tell me.
I mean, I had no idea when we came out of the pits where we were, and I could see no car in my mirrors or in the front. So my job was like a practice session, just keep putting the laps in. Eventually I see a car, so now I have motive to go even faster. Absolutely. So then I just kept pushing, and I think on the last lap we caught up to her, and we managed to make the overtake, and here we are.
All right, so Sohail, he absolutely surprised us right at the end, and what a surprise that was. Congratulations, guys. Now back to you guys after the break. Thank you.
Wow. Great to hear from Sohail Shah at that very end. What a fast stint he had. Great podium. But now let's actually analyze the race after a quick break. So folks, be right here. We'll be back in a second. Calm your breath down, ladies and gentlemen, because this was a crazy feature race that had action at the very end. The first ever Indian Racing League feature race, and we've got a result at the end. Blackbirds Hyderabad getting a hat-trick. 3 out of 3. Sprint 1, Sprint 2, and a feature. Gaurav,
action-packed, but not just at the end of the race. It started itself with a bang.
Yeah.
Where Alistair Young, as in, he should have just held his horses a little more and he went into John. So we've missed out on action from John and Alistair right through the race. And then we've got action at the end between Sohail and Lola. Yeah, so it's been a brilliant race. They're climbing onto the podium there.
And well-deserved, absolutely well-deserved. You can see the Blackbirds Hyderabad drivers in P1, Akil Rabindra and Neil Jani. They dominated. They had some incredibly clean laps. Sure, it was boring to watch them, but boring is successful.
Yeah.
Blackbirds Hyderabad nailed it.
They're getting used to that position over there, near the one, huh?
Exactly, 3 on 3 for them. But the drivers next to them, Ruhan Alva, Fabian Woolven. We know Fabian Woolven is incredibly good on the international stage. More on them in a second, but firstly, P3 for Goa Aces.
Good to see Goa Aces on top over here on the podium. Brilliant for them. Hats off.
After such a tough weekend, because they had reliability issues, crashes, so great to see Goa Aces on the podium. Then we have the Godspeed Kochi team. Another podium for Fabian and Ruhan Alva. They've done it in the sprint race.
I love their energy. I don't know. I really love the energy of Godspeed Kochi, and especially this duo.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lovely match.
Young, I mean, I won't say young and old, but young and experienced. And they're matching up very well.
Fabian is young as well. I think she's about 24, 25 only. It's
not Ruhan level young, right? He's only,
he's 16.
17. So there's about that. And then there's Akil Rabindra and Neil Jani. 3 on 3 for them. They are the serial winners. They started off by winning every single race. I think everyone is just going to say, wow, how do we get to this level, guys?
No, I'm sure they will. I'm sure next weekend all the teams are all geared up now. They're used to what Chennai is. And I think we should see a good battle to them. I mean, we can't let them just win all the races so easily.
Exactly. No, that's so true. And I'm curious, right? Because now in this very race, we got to see the very best of Ruhan Alva. We got to see the very best of Sohail Shah. Ruhan, of course, extreme left. Sohail next to the driver on the extreme right. That's Amr Sai, his teammate, who had a good first in, very clean, very secure. And Sohail for, of course, the Goa Aces team ended quite literally, Gaurav, with a bang. He touched Lola Lowen first. Unfortunate accident over there, but he's got the podium clearly.
I really don't think it was a touch. Of course, we need to see the replays, and I'm sure the stewards are having a look at it. But from what I saw, it looked like a racing incident. I think Lola just outbraked herself and then lost a little bit of control. It was a nice. There you go. We've got the highlights for the race. Go for it, so.
Yeah, we've got so much. We got that tap you mentioned, Alistair Young hitting John Lancaster. Really unfortunate.
Second corner. He should have just held on to his horses a little longer. As in brilliant talent, but we couldn't see much of it. Another shocking thing was Bangalore. The way they started off was brilliant.
Yeah.
They were 2 and 3. But after the driver swap, I don't know what happened and where did they end up.
Unfortunate, right? Because Rishon Rajiv was on the back of Lola Lovencross. That move shall come in a second. But we saw Bianca Bustamante have an incredible first stint. She was super composed, and so was Yasharadhya.
Like I told you before, about how the first stint can be brilliant and then second stint, if it all doesn't go well, it can just throw you down.
You're right.
That's exactly what happened to Bangalore.
Yash and Bianca were superb. Later we had Rishon Rajiv come in. He made that slight unfortunate error. But when we had Akil Rabindra lapping in the clean, he was faster than anyone out there. He was setting in great lap times, and that gave Blackbirds Hyderabad the advantage.
Even looking at competition number 9, the car looks so much more steady right through the corners. As in, I don't know what it is with their setup, but obviously Neil Jani has set the car up really well.
Yeah, clearly. And now we could see that battle between Lola Lovencross and, of course, we had Rishon Rajiv in the background as well. But Rishon
This is the move. There's enough gap. He's done it clean. He didn't even touch.
He moved at the end.
Yeah, at the end. Actually, that's something that they.
And that's what happened between Sohail Shah and Lola Lovencross on the last lap. But Neil Jani doesn't care. He won it all. He did it so comfortably, and we shall see all of that in the results table. He won, ladies and gentlemen, for Blackbirds Hyderabad again. But what are you most surprised about, Gaurav? Is it Godspeed Kochi getting another podium, or maybe Goa Aces getting back at the podium after a tough weekend?
I'm sadly surprised about the start, to be very honest, with what happened with Alistair Young and John. As in, his talent needed to be a little more composed. He needed to actually wait through. I mean, it's a long race. It's 35 minutes. So there was no need to actually make that move at the second corner. And being on the outer at C2 is suicide. I know this track. Being on the outer at C2 is total suicide. So anyway, it started off over there badly. But on the positive side of it, I think My surprise element over here is the consistency of Hyderabad and Kochi.
Exactly. No, they have been absolutely great. They were superb. Godspeed Kochi consistently doing very well. But we've got more races to see how things are going to play out as well, because this time next week, we'll be back right here at the Madras International Circuit for round 3 of the Indian Racing League. Again, same format. 2 qualifying sessions, 2 sprint races and 1 big feature race. Gaurav, what are we looking forward to the most next time out?
I think all the teams are going to be much more prepared. I think all the drivers are they know the track now, so I think they're going to be more prepared. We're going to have faster times for sure. We just hope the weather gods are on our side over here. And I hope to see a lot more Chennaiites come and watch the race. Yeah. I think it's happening over here in your backyard. Whoever's from Chennai, get in touch, come on and watch the race on Saturday and Sunday. It's going to be fun.
Because the races have been manic. Seriously, we're getting to see so much of action every single minute. But Gaurav, thank you so much for sharing the studio screen with me.
Pleasure.
Thank you for coming on.
Pleasure.
And folks, if you enjoyed watching this race, if you enjoyed watching this broadcast, please turn up next week, because we've got another round of the Indian Racing League coming up. But I must thank you for watching. I must thank you for listening if you've only been doing that passively. But thank you so much, folks. And we shall see you this time next week for the Indian Racing League. From all the team right here, I'm Somal Arora signing off. Bye-bye.